Hello everybody, welcome to the TriStar Gym channel. Today's episode we are talking about Alexander Pereira versus Khalil Rountree. Guys, give me a thumbs up. As always, let me know the sound is good. And guys, I'm gonna give you guys my prediction right away, right off the bat. I know we're all gonna vote Pereira. I'm expecting the poll in the chat to be 80% Pereira. I'm expecting it. Guys, I'm giving you 65-35 chance Alexander Pereira wins. Usually I don't do fights when I think it's so lopsided. Do I believe Khalil Rountree has a chance to win? Yes, I do. I definitely do. However, I don't think he will win. Why? Pereira has seen everything Khalil Rountree brings to the table. For those of you who are not hardcore fans watching MMA all the time, let me tell you a little bit about Khalil Rountree. He's a very classic style Muay Thai fighter. Very classic. He's a power punching southpaw. Mostly 90% of his fighting is southpaw. More than that. He's a hard puncher. He has an incredible, powerful left hand. He can get things done. He's a powerful kicker. He has a fantastic Muay Thai style clinch with knees. He has good elbows as well, but he's mostly about the kicking, the punching, the kneeing, the classic Muay Thai style. And he's never attempted a single takedown in his UFC career. I rewent through his fights. I could tell you, I don't recall him doing one single takedown. Not one. Maybe a trip, like a Muay Thai trip a little bit, but he's not trying to get guys to the ground. He's not going to try to shoot on Pereira. He's never won via submission. Let me double check that stat. Okay, I'm going to double check his topology real quick here. But I don't think he's ever won with a submission in his entire career. Definitely not in UFC, but I don't think in his entire career he's ever put on a submission. He's a classic Muay Thai fighter. Let me see here. How many submissions does he have here? 0 wins by submission, 1 submission loss, 9 wins by KO, 4 wins by decision. Guys, he has never done a submission. He's not looking to take Pereira down. I predict it's more likely Pereira takes Rountree down than Rountree taking down Pereira. It's not going to happen, guys. He's not going to shoot, no matter how bad it gets. Rountree is a gunslinger. He's a gunslinger. That's all he does. He shoots, he punches, he punches. When I say shoot, I mean like he fires away, he fires shots. He doesn't try takedowns. Now, Pereira has gotten some takedowns. He took down Adesanya, a very difficult man to take down. He took down Adesanya and held him down quite successfully as well. So I would say Pereira will probably out-wrestle him. Now, what does Rountree bring to the table? He's got incredible power, incredible athlete, incredibly powerful left hand, good kicks. However, Pereira's got that left hook. That left hook is more unique, more special. Pereira's taller, longer range. Muay Thai, more seasoned, guys. That's the way I see it. He's just more seasoned, more tried and true. He's beat bigger names. Pereira has been through more 5-round fights, at bigger fights, more legendary opponents, cleaner record. I predict that Pereira can win this fight handedly. So I'm giving a 65-35. I usually don't cover fights when I think they're this lopsided, but I was doing the show today and I was like, you know what, let's chat. Who knows? Maybe some people out there believe that Rountree can do it. Okay, guys, with that said, I want to say, guys, remember, go to jujiclub.com, check out promo code level up 50 off. Use the promo code in the description. It's on the bottom of your screen. Don't miss out on the promo code. I just released front headlock, advanced basics front headlock, guys. Simplified. Super powerful video. I teach you how to catch somebody in a submission from front headlock, how to take their back, how to take them down if they stand up on their feet, how to take them down, how to get them down to the ground. The best maneuvers from front headlock are covered in detail in my latest release, guys. It's going to be released in just a few hours. Check it out. It will be released very shortly. Okay, guys, give me your updates on. Give me your thoughts on Pereira and Khalil Rountree. Okay, guys, one moment. Okay, guys, give me your thoughts on Khalil Rountree, as you guys say, and Alexander Pereira. We're covering this one topic just for now. We're not going to stay on it too long because I already see 91% are voting Pereira. I want to hear the guys who are going to call an upset. I want to hear this. Is anybody out there calling an upset? How did the UFC put up such a matchup? A one-sided, lopsided matchup for the main event. That's also very curious. 65-35 is generous. That's from Illuminate MMA. Yes, it is. It's very generous. I think it's maybe more like 80-20. But I'll tell you something. Khalil Rountree is dangerous, man. He's a hard hitter. He beat Gokhan Saki. He's floored guys. He's completely annihilated people. Now, he's been knocked out. That's why I think Pereira's chin is even... Of course, Pereira's been knocked out, but Pereira's been knocked out by Adesanya, the who's who. Khalil hasn't shown that level of chin. Okay, so for me, I just think it's going to be the Pereira show. It's going to be tough. It's going to be risky. Excuse me. Anything can happen. I just don't think Khalil has a range, the chin, the years of experience that Pereira has. Okay, guys, give me just... Coach, if Rountree wins, UFC is rigged. That's from Rainbow. No, it wouldn't be, guys. Guys, let me tell you something. A fight at this level, anything can happen. Anything can happen. Shama by TKO, round 2. That's from Emits. I would probably agree with that. Yeah, round 2 sounds just right. Coach, thoughts on Diddy? That's from Rainbow. Rainbow, let's talk about that later. Now we're not talking about freak-offs just yet. We're talking about this fight. I know you guys are getting bored of this fight. I know it's like not the most intriguing fight. It's not a fight we gotta split hairs about. But let's talk about it just for a few minutes, okay? Because we're only 8 minutes in, and everybody's... Let's just talk about this fight for a little bit. They didn't want Ankalaev to take the belt and have another wrestling heavyweight champion, so you get Rountree. That's from Mr. Young Hegelian. Guys, do you agree with Mr. Hegelian? Let me tell you something. He's a Hegelian. He's amazing. He subscribes to the philosophy of Hegel. He's a very intelligent man, this man. Listen to him. Mr. Young Hegelian is saying something very interesting. Look what he's saying. He's saying they didn't want another Ankalaev. They didn't want Ankalaev to take the belt and have another have another wrestling heavy champion. So you get Rountree. There might be some serious truth to this. There might be some very serious truth. You have Bilal Muhammad. You have now who just beat, we just covered it last time, Merab. We have Merab now, the takedown machine, who's not really finishing anybody yet. Hopefully that comes up soon. Do you want another wrestling champion? It could be a problem for the brand. So you get a banger. You get 2 guys who are going to slug it out. Poatan has experience fighting high altitude. Does Khalil? That's from Tito. Where is this fight actually? Hold on a second. That's I didn't even know. I didn't even look to see where it is. Hold on a second. Where is this fight taking place? This fight is taking place in... Hold on. What center here? Ooh, Salt Lake City, guys. This is high altitude. That's right. Ooh, Salt Lake City, Utah. Man, I don't envy guys who have to fight in Salt Lake City. This is a very tough environment. High altitude makes a massive difference. I hope Khalil Rountree is there 3 weeks ago. I agreed with the Champions Wrestling Theory. That's from Flag Ground. Guys, I think a lot of people think that. A lot of people. We got to have a balance of striking and wrestling champions. Or we have to change the rules so the strikers can also have their day in the sun. I find that, personally, the rules are kind of tough on the striker. Because think about it. So many of the rounds are they're won by a takedown. And the wrestler's just timing, kind of not engaging the striking, running around, not engaging the striking. And then when the time is right, he shoots, takes you down, holds you, just eats up the clock for 2 minutes, and then nothing happens. He circles around, and all of a sudden, he wins. He does that like rinse and repeat, does it again. Now, I'm not saying all fighters do that. I'm not saying all wrestlers do that. No. I'm just saying some have gotten away with big fights like that. Now, I'm not talking about the champs that are currently there, but I think we have to show. I think a good rule would be that the takedown, you have to do something with it. And of course, they've tried to implement this. You You have to do something with it, and it can't be a defensive takedown. Like you're hitting me. I'm losing the striking. I'm not doing well, and then I take you down and I hold you. I just hold you on for dear life, and then I wait for the bell rings, and then you guys give me the round. That makes no sense. I think if you get a takedown, you have to improve your position, a dominant position, or you have to land some kind of damage. If not, the takedown shouldn't count for anything, because why did I take you down? What was the point of me taking you down? I'm trying to get an advantage. Or it should count as the takedown was a slam. Okay, that should count. That means I could have hurt you if we weren't on a nice matted surface. I should ground and pound. I should be able to strike you, or I should be able to maneuver into a more dominant position where I'm threatening submissions. I think these are the three viable things that should make the takedown count. But if I just take you down and you land in your guard and I'm holding you for dear life, I don't think that should count for anything. Actually, I think it should help the other guy, because I'm hitting you and you so badly, you can't trade with me. You gotta hold me on the ground and let that clock drain. That means you're losing. In my opinion, sometimes fighters who are losing get the win. But again, that's just my crazy interpretation. A lot of upsets in Utah, such as Kamaru and Gaethje. That's from Hani. Yeah, Kamaru was that where he got head kicked? I think it was in Utah. That's right. Which fight did Gaethje lose in Utah? I can't recall. Which one was that? Coach, what type of mentality do you think Rountree has? I feel like he seems unstoppable, but we've also seen him look almost weak, similar to Edmund Shabazian. Any thoughts? That's from Charles. Well, I haven't been listening to his interviews or anything like that, but look, he's a hard hitter and he knows it. Usually hard hitters, they're very, very confident. They feel like, hey, if we exchange, even though I might be on the losing end here and there, I know that I just have to land one or two and I win the fight. So when you have that kind of power, that fight-ending power with one shot, and believe me, Khalil has that. Khalil Rountree has that kind of fight-ending power. He's a very, very dangerous man. You got that fight-ending power. Nobody's expecting you to win. It's such a great formula because you go in there, relax. Look, if I lose, everybody was expecting me to lose. But if I land this one, and if there's a chance I land this one, there's a very good chance, I'll shock the world. So he's going in there with everything. Because look at the poll now. We're at 84% for Pereira. Okay? 84-16. Nobody's really expecting Khalil Rountree to win. I haven't looked at the odds. I try to avoid seeing the odds because I want to do this podcast like fresh, my own thoughts. But Khalil Rountree knows that if he connects on the chin, he can end anyone. And I believe that. I believe that's really true. He's very dangerous, guys. Don't sleep on him. That's why I went 65-35, because a lot of people are going to be 80-90% in the favor of Pereira. No. When you have a guy who you're fighting has that much power, he put out Gogen Saki. Like, he's dangerous. Yeah, I agree, guys. Poatan is just on another level. Do body shots have more effect in high altitude? That's from Tito. You know what? Here's the thing. When you're in high altitude, you can get nauseous. Believe me, it's happened to me. I've trained at high altitude and I got nauseous. So I would say yes. Yes. I was training high altitude. I didn't think about it. And I was close to throwing up. But I'm the type of guy, I never throw up during practice. No matter how much I train, like I don't have that kind of reflex. I see some people sometimes they train and they throw up. It's not uncommon. I won't say a lot of people have it. I would say like maybe 5-10% of guys, when they train too hard, they feel like throwing up. The only time I ever happened to be that I felt like I was throwing up was I was training in Albuquerque and I was like gagging and I went on the side of the mat and they were like, oh yeah, it's normal. It's high altitude. You should take your time to get used to it. You don't train too hard the first few days. And I was like, I didn't even think I was in high altitude. This was my first time. And I had never felt that way. But if somebody had given me a body shot during that time, that could have been painful. If Khalil wins, Alex should quit UFC. That's from Abu Saud. No. If Khalil wins, listen to me, it wouldn't be crazy. They'd have a rematch. Big fight, big sell. Was it a fluke, etc.? Guys, let me remind you of a time where Mike Tyson lost to Buster Douglas. Now, I was really young when that happened. I wasn't a boxing fan when that happened, but I heard about it. Why? Everybody knew who Mike Tyson was. Nobody knew who Buster Douglas was. I believe the fight was in Japan. Buster Douglas beats Mike Tyson, KOs Mike Tyson. Some people were saying, I remember analysts saying it was the best thing that ever happened to Mike. Why? Everybody wanted to see his follow-up fight. What happened? Is he back? Is he like? Was it all a myth? Everything he's done was it like? Have they found his number? It just created so much intrigue because at the time, he was so favored all the time, and his fights sometimes would last like 1 round, 2 rounds. So people would pay big bucks to sit in the front row, and the fight would be over in seconds. Sometimes, literally in seconds. Now you have a struggling Mike Tyson who gets KO'd, and everybody wants to know what's the comeback like. It makes it for an intriguing sequel. Now, we all are familiar with the Mike Tyson story. It was not a boring one. It was a very exciting biography. It's still going on today. But the Buster Douglas knockout was massive, huge. People were talking about Mike Tyson more than ever. It could be something. If Poatan gets knocked out or something, it could trigger a rivalry. Why? He comes back. Maybe he beats Khalil, and then they have a rubber match, a third fight. Sometimes the best thing that can happen to a champion is he loses when nobody expects him to lose. Tyson lost to his wife, Robin, first. That's from Shepard. Yeah, what I remember, he was going through a divorce back then. He was saying, look, he was on antidepressants and stuff like that. He talks about it in his documentary. I know there's a lot of Mike Tyson documentaries, but there was one documentary where it's kind of him just sitting on a couch telling his story. That was the best Mike Tyson documentary. Personally, I watched so many of them. That one was my favorite because he was just talking. It was just Mike Tyson talking about his story. It was quite raw and authentic, and they were, showing you so much incredible footage. And he was talking about how they asked him about his wife. He's like, "Oh, we're just kids. We're just kids. They were rich and famous, and they were just kids." He was very forgiving. I was quite surprised about that, but he did mention he does talk about the Buster Douglas fight. Have you ever met Mike Tyson? That's from Hassan. No, Hassan, I've never met him, but I would love to meet him one day. I would definitely love to have a conversation with him. All right, guys, I think, oh, wow, look at this. 83-17. We dropped by 1 point. Look at that. But still going very strong. If Pereira should win, move up to heavyweight and fight Ankalaev. No, that would be a light heavyweight. Coach, how do you see Khalil winning if he does? That's from Hani. Hani, I would tell you it would definitely have to be a left hand. I don't see him chopping Pereira's legs. I don't see him killing Pereira's body with leg kicks, with body kicks. I don't see him tying him up and kneeing him. I don't see, I just don't see it. What I would say is they have a heated exchange. Yes, they're throwing kicks, they're setting up shots, but at the end of the day, Khalil has to land that left, and he has to land it in a big way, and he has to put Pereira out, because if he doesn't, he's going to lose 2 points on the cards, or he's going to get knocked out sooner or later. I just don't see Khalil winning by decision. I don't see him mauling Pereira with the tie clinch and wearing him out. I definitely don't see him taking Pereira down and holding him. That's a non-issue. I think Pereira has more chance of taking down Rountree. I think Pereira is more well-rounded than Rountree. His name is Alex, not Alexander. Did I get that wrong in the... Let me see here. Did I put Alexander? Oh, look at that. I didn't even put it in. Alex Pereira. Okay, a little correction there. Okay, let me see. Okay, guys, don't forget, I just released Front Headlock Advanced Basics Volume 27. Check out jujiclub.com. Get the new video if you're interested in front headlock. I teach submissions. I teach Peruvian necktie, darts, anaconda, guillotine, all the good stuff. How to chase the back, how to take somebody down if they stand up on you. Use level up 50 off. Get 50% off anything on jujiclub.com. Guys, check out the description. Check out the promo code in the description and make sure you get 50% off. How should Wonderboy approach the fight next weekend? That's actually a very interesting fight. He's fighting Buckley. So I think Wonderboy is going to do what he normally does. He keeps his distance. He has a very strong karate style. He knows how to deal with strong, explosive punchers like Buckley. I think it's a very good stylistic matchup for him. However, Buckley is a very, very powerful, athletic individual with KO power himself. But like always, I'm going to vote Wonderboy. Okay, guys, with that said, I think we're going to move on from the Pereira fight. I think everybody is pretty one-sided on this. 15% of the chat is giving a chance to Khalil Rountree. You guys are less generous than I was. However, I do understand your sentiment. Okay, guys, let's open it up to absolutely anything. Diddy time, coach. That's from Rainbow. Yeah, I heard about the P. Diddy story. Actually, look, I'm not surprised. I'll tell you why, okay? You give men a lot of power, a lot of money, and they're going to do crazy stuff like this. Like, it's just insane. Men, I always say, look, I always say men are dangerous, man. Human beings are the most dangerous creatures on earth, and particularly men. Men are very prone to crazy behavior, such as violence, grape. I'm going to say the word grape, okay? All those bad things. Like, you have to be very careful with men. Men are very, very dangerous. I was just watching this crazy documentary. It was, it's on Netflix, about, they go in this prison. They're like, hey, like this prison, these guys are locked in for 23 hours a day. They get 1 hour out of their cage. They come out of their room. They call it 23 in 1. For 23 hours, you're locked up. 1 hour, you get out. You get to go out. You get to eat, play basketball, whatever. You get 1 hour. That's it. The rest of the time, you're in this little room with another dude. Personally, I couldn't live like that. I don't know what I would do. I don't know how it would go on. Like, I can't live like that. But then they have this experiment. Okay, we're gonna leave you guys out of your cell. We're gonna leave the cell doors open, but you guys gotta manage yourselves, because they were taking an example from Scandinavian jails where they treat prisoners more humanely, and they have better results, and they rehabilitate people at a greater rate. And I was watching with my wife, and I'm like, this ain't gonna work, man. They're gonna shank each other the first day. First day, they're gonna shank each other. Like, these guys are hardcore criminals, because they introduce you to the characters, and it's like, listen, I know men ain't gonna last too long. Like, I mean, this is crazy dangerous. Now, they were like, if you guys screw this up, we're back to 23 in 1. 23 locked up, 1 hour out. Now, it's the first day, right away beef starts. Right away there's trouble. And of course, because these guys are all dysfunctional. Now, I didn't get too far into it because I didn't watch too long, but at one point, one guy's making a shank. And the deputies come in and they take the guy out. They're like, okay, we don't want to punish anybody. We just took out the guy who made the shank. Now, I'll tell you something. The guy made the shank because they took him in a cell where the cameras weren't, and they beat him up. They beat him up. Why? Because he was annoying the other prisoners. So they were just getting smart at hiding what they do. They were making booze. They were doing all sorts of illegal stuff. Nobody's watching, right? But the deputies were far more lenient, because they're like, if we catch you doing something, we're throwing you back in the cell for 23 hours. Now, they didn't do that. They didn't keep their word. Because originally when I said, they just got to do one mistake and they're going to go back to 23 hours and in the cell 1 hour of rec time, I was like, no, they're not going to make it. But they kind of bend the rules, give them chances. And you can see that the guys are giving an effort, right? They really want to stay out of that cell. They don't want to be locked in 23 hours a day. Now, look, I'd be on my best behavior too. I would try to be on my best behavior. But you have people that are just way too confrontational, way too toxic. I mean, there's just a whole environment of alpha males. Just alpha male. Everybody wants to dominate everybody. Everything is seen as a disrespect. Everything has got to be resolved with violence. It's just complete toxicity. Now, I'm not saying P. Diddy is that dysfunctional, but you give somebody so much money, so much fame, and they can lose their mind. So I don't think everybody does that. No, I don't think everybody. I think it shouldn't be surprising that when you're very rich at a young age, you act crazy. If you're very, very rich at a very young age, it's like, look at St. Pierre, like, he was really rich at a young age, but he had a very good environment around him. He had very good relationships with his parents. He had a good entourage that kind of kept him on the straight and narrow. But because when you're so rich at such a young age, you could do crazy things. Now he got older and he got richer as he got older, right? He owns everything. It doesn't surprise me that men could do crazy, wild, insane things. Look, I'm around men all the time. I'm around these kind of characters all the time, you know. So it's, for me, it's not that surprising. Now, what he did was vile. I'm not even sure exactly what he did, but from what I understand, he drugged people, he abused people, and he got them on camera, and he would blackmail them. And I'm like, man, this guy's dumb. To be that rich and that famous and that well known and to do such crimes, obviously that's going to circle back sooner or later. Of course, people are going to leak footage. Of course, like, if that's his criminal mind, I mean, it was inevitable he's going to get caught. Now, how many stars does he have filmed? Everybody's saying that he's got everybody on tape. That's what they're saying now. They're speculating. Everybody's speculating. Who does he have on tape? He had these massive parties with all sorts of superstars, and he's got cameras in every room, and he's got tape on everybody. It's going to be an interesting end of the year, I think. How legit is Vladimir Putin's judo coach? That's from Ray Ray. Ray Ray. I don't know. I never saw him in action. I've never seen him train. I think I saw like one little clip of him doing one judo throw, so I can't tell you. But it would be interesting to see if he's a legitimate black belt. Diddy chosen to be rich. He's protected. None gets that powerful on their own. That's from Nick Millen. Oh, look, the guy was a talented guy. He met Biggie Smalls, who was a big talent. You know, he was connected. He made great music. He had like crazy hit singles. I forget their names, but like he had like big singles. And you know, he became a producer. He started signing stars. He was signing all these talents. Usher, Justin Bieber, all these guys. Like, I mean, he brought up a whole generation. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's a billionaire. It wouldn't surprise me in the least that he's a billionaire, especially if he has any hand in what Biggie Smalls did. You know, when the artist dies, his art goes up, it skyrockets, right? You're not going to hear him make another song. That's it. That's what we got. So it increases the value. So if he was involved in that, I mean, his brand is very closely tied with Biggie Smalls. I have a younger daughter. I don't do martial arts at all, but what skills should I teach her? That's from Abu Saud. Oh, you got to teach her the basics. You know, she got to learn how to kick and punch, I would say, at a young age, and then later on teach them grappling. Grappling is a little bit complicated, so you want to wait till a little bit more mature, but when they're really young, you could teach them how to kick and punch. Now, not sparring or anything like that, but holding pads for them, get them an instructor who's going to teach them how to kick and punch properly, and then later on you can graduate to grappling styles. Not true, coach. He has picked. Look at his start. He was picked by Record X. That's from Ains. I don't know. Maybe he was. I don't know. But the guy was talented. You got to admit he was talented. He had some talent. I mean, the guy, you know, he wasn't my favorite artist or anything like that. But the guy was. People were listening to his music. Hey, coach, I've been doing MMA for 5 months and I'm able to compete with pros. I struggle against this one kid who's wrestled at my gym for 8 years. He ragdolls me every single time with the takedowns. Any tips? Feeling demoralized. Don't worry, we've all been there, man. That's part of the struggle. Don't be demoralized. Look, you got to pinpoint what kind of takedown is he taking you with. You know, is he underhooking you and body locking you and tossing you over his hips? Is he shooting into your legs and you have a weak sprawl? I highly recommend get volume 7 of Advanced Basics. It's all about wrestling. It covers all the fundamental drills that you need. And I would say if he's getting with an underhook, get the Whizzer Made Simple. I have an overhook made simple video. You'll definitely get him off you if you train properly. Look, you got to identify what he's doing and you got to learn how to counter it. Okay, so you weren't specific in exactly how he was taking you down. Look, if he's shooting in your legs, get volume 7. I teach you how to sprawl properly. Get front headlock. I just released it today. Make him pay for shooting in your legs. He'll never want to shoot in your legs again. If you have a good Darce Anaconda, if you have a good ability to chase the back, if you know how to break him down to the mats, make him suffer underneath you. I have single leg defense as well. I have overhook made simple. Get something that's going to upgrade your game. I wonder what the end goal is for Netanyahu. This can't possibly end well for Israel. Will America ever intervene? Question mark. That's from Qasim. Qasim, look, Netanyahu, if the war ends, he goes to jail. Okay, he's wanted for corruption charges. He has a cabinet that's all extreme, ultra right wing criminals, like really psychotic human beings. One of them is Ben Gvir, who was literally convicted for terrorism. He wasn't allowed in the IDF because he was too extreme. Yes. Smotrich is another insane human being who said that we have the moral right to starve people in Gaza, to starve the 2 million people in Gaza. But the world won't let us. But we have the moral right to do that. That's 1 million children. This is a man who thinks that they have the moral right. Israel has the moral right to starve 1 million children and 1 million adults. Complete insanity. It's completely insane. Smotrich, Ben Gvir, two insane human beings, completely insane. And they're always constantly threatening Netanyahu that, hey, if he doesn't keep attacking, if he doesn't keep bombarding, if he doesn't create carnage and murder and death, they're going to dissolve the cabinet and he'll go to jail. So Netanyahu is like stuck between a rock and a hard place. Now, I'm not saying he's a good guy and he's in a tough situation. I think he's a horrible human being. But he's bombing indiscriminately in Gaza. They just killed 500 Gazans the other day. Like yesterday, 24 hours ago, 500 plus people in Gaza killed, dead. You don't hear about it on the news. You don't hear about it. All you hear is that, because, we all heard Iran yesterday bombed Israel. Now, Iran, when they bombed, they said, look, we're doing it by international law. We're not bombing indiscriminately. We are bombing military targets. They literally there's only one casualty. Ironically enough, it was a Palestinian casualty because there's 2 million Palestinians living in Israel. They launched 200 missiles roughly. The numbers vary. Some people say it was 180. Some people say it was 200, roughly around the 200 mark. And they hit only military targets. In the UN meeting today, they said we only hit military targets. We're well within our measured response. They were saying we're doing everything by the law because Israel attacked their sovereign nation. This is a retaliatory attack. It's proportionate. We're doing everything by the law. Now, of course, Israel's like, oh, that was a big mistake. Now we're gonna destroy. Like now they're going on the warpath. They're just threatening. Oh, this is a huge mistake. We're gonna destroy you, and they're escalating the rhetoric. The Israeli side is escalating the rhetoric. It's always threats. Don't forget, guys, Iran, I know they get a lot of bad media, and I'm not an expert on the Iranian government. But I heard them at the UN months ago. They were saying we have a no first strike policy. We don't strike first, ever. Look, I don't know other bad things they've done, because I'm sure there's bad things. I don't trust any government, but that's a good policy to have. If everybody had that policy, hey, we don't strike first. We will not strike first. That's a policy I personally would like everybody to adopt. It could really increase the level of peace in the world. Because I'll tell you guys this, I'm not for egging any side on. I really think we're on the brink of World War III, to be honest with you. I really think we are very close to a massive war. Now, politicians like Netanyahu, his family, his son is in Miami living it up. He's having fun in Miami. He's got money. He's got everything he needs. He's just living on the beach, enjoying his life. His country's going to war, and American soldiers now are going and getting involved in the Middle East. American soldiers are going to die. Arab soldiers are going to die. Jewish soldiers are going to die. Everybody's going to die. But the rich and famous and the elite, the politicians, their kids, no, they don't have to die. No, they can go and live in some nice place in the world while we duke it out and they get rich. Don't forget, when people go to war, private citizens get incredibly rich. Okay, they invest in companies that are in defense, and then war is good for business. Stocks go up. We get rich. We liquidate. We become billionaires. Now, don't forget, in the Iraq War, the Bush family made billions in the Carlyle Group. Okay, they had to sell their shares. They had to eventually liquidate. The Iraq War made the Bush family rich. Why do you think they went to war? We were promised, for those of you who are too young to remember, we were promised that Iraq has weapons of mass destruction. We have to go in Iraq. Iraq had complied with all UN demands. The UN went in there and inspected every area of Iraq. They couldn't find any weapons of mass destruction. No WMDs. When they asked Dick Cheney, where are the WMDs? Where are they? Literally, he's like, oh, well, they're in the north, south, they're in the east and west. He just basically named everywhere. They went in Iraq. Lots of people died. Million Iraqis dead. We have ISIS surface. We have like millions of people displaced. Millions. And what happens? There was no weapons of mass destruction. What was the point of going into Iraq and killing all those people? What was the point? I still don't understand what was the point. If you don't want to see Arabs get displaced, don't go to war. Because if there's a huge regional war in the Middle East, the Arabs are going to be displaced. And guess where they're going to go? They're going to go into other parts of the world. And you can't stop them. So for people who are always complaining, oh, there's too many foreigners, there's too many migrants. Well, don't displace them. Don't go bomb their homes. Don't go bomb their homes because they're going to get up and find a new place to live. Coach, they said they had yellow cake uranium. That's from Rainbow. Rainbow. Israel has nuclear weapons. Iran is enriching uranium, but there's a certain amount they're allowed. I can't remember what the amount is, but they're within their rights with the UN. I can't remember the exact amount. I don't want to say the wrong amount, but you need to enrich uranium to a certain degree to have a nuclear weapon. They're not allowed anywhere near that, so they have the right to enrich a certain amount. I don't remember the details on that, but I remember reading a report, seeing a report on that on TV. Salam, Coach. I have joined late. Can you comment on Meccano's vicious ground and pound compared to Merab with 0 finishes and does 0 damage? That's from Izzy. Guys, I did see that first round against for Meccano. Wow, what a fight, man. What a fight. I think if I remember correctly, he kind of caught a kick. And he just mauled him and destroyed him. Meccano's top game, his ground and pound was vicious. It was vicious. I can't believe the fight went into round 2. I can't believe it. His eyes were shut, man. His eyes were completely shut. Benoit's eyes were completely shut. He was mangled. Round 2, I mean, it was a close round 2, but you could see Meccano was kind of like picking his shots. But he was mangled after round 1. I can't believe they let that fight keep going. It was very, very, very violent. Is Israel committing a genocide? That's from Alpinex 105. Look, here's the thing. Look, I have a background in philosophy. I studied Greek philosophy for many, many years, over 20 years. I could tell you something. Most of Plato is trying to define things. Most of Plato, Platonic works, we call it the Socratic method. The Socratic method is, okay, let's say I'm Socrates, okay? You tell me something that you know is true. I'm Socrates. Socrates is always like, I don't know anything to be true. I'm not a wise man at all. Okay, the whole shtick of Socrates was, the oracle said he's the wisest man in Athens. And he's like, no, that can't be. I don't know anything. Okay, guys, if you're ever interested in Plato, this is Plato's whole shtick, okay? The oracle says about Socrates that Socrates is the wisest man in Athens. And Socrates is like, that can't be. I'm going to prove the oracle wrong. I'm going to go interview all the wise men in Athens, and I'm going to find a guy much wiser than me, and it's going to be really easy. Why? I don't know anything. My name is Socrates, and I know that I know very little. So he had this humble attitude. So throughout the Platonic works, he meets different people. Plato wrote about 40 books, okay? I would say 40, and maybe 38 we're sure they're authentic. 2 of them, it's kind of like they seem plagiarized, but whatever. That's a story for another day. And Plato goes on this adventure, and he's dialoguing with people. He's dialoguing, and he's realizing that these men aren't that smart. Well, how does he prove it? Well, he asks them, what do you know? One guy will say, look, I know this. And then Socrates will be like, okay, well, he'll start cross-examining him, and he'll start finding contradictions in the man's beliefs, holes in his story, errors. And the guy will be left like, oh, I thought I believed in this and that, and I don't even know what I mean anymore. Like, I'm totally, completely lost. And the guy that we thought was wise seemed like he doesn't know what he's talking about. So it's just one book after another where Socrates takes a supposed wise man and breaks him down. He uses a Socratic method. He asks the man to make a claim, and then he cross-examines him, and he always finds contradictions and errors, etc. This happens in almost every book except for one, where the guy seems to be wiser than Socrates. That's the book of Parmenides. We'll talk about that another day. Now, if you told Socrates, I know what a table is, he would tell you, okay, what's the essence of a table? What makes something a table? You're going to be like, okay, a flat surface. Well, a flat surface isn't a counter. So a counter is a table, like a counter where you chop your celery. No. That's made for chopping and cooking. That's not a table. I'm talking about a table, a dining table, a place where you sit and dine. Okay, what's the difference between a counter and a dining table? Well, a table you can sit around at 360. Oh, okay, great. So that island counter over there, that's also a table. No, that's an island counter. That's different than a table. A table has to have 4 legs. So Socrates will find you a table that has 3 legs or 1 leg. Sometimes you see a table that has 1 leg right in the middle. And he'll just constantly keep nitpicking until you realize, hey, I don't even know what a table is. Maybe you tell him, okay, a table can have 1 to 4 legs. And then Socrates is going to find you a table that's screwed into the wall. And you'll be like, hey, wait a second, isn't that a table also? You'll be like, oh, you're right, that's a table also. What is a table? So he's going to start getting, and table is an easy one, okay? Table is an easy one. What I'm trying to say is there's never a perfect definition. Look at our modern day and age. In our modern day and age, people cannot even define what a woman is. They cannot define what a woman is. If you ask any secularist, what is a woman? He can't define it. Why? Because if he tries to define it, that's going to be his own personal interpretation. There's no consensus. He's going to say, look, even if there is a consensus, so what? What's consensus? That's just a group of people. So what? So what you have to understand is when I answer this question, I'm going to answer that it doesn't matter what I think. It matters what the international community thinks. It matters what the ICC, International Criminal Court, it matters what the International Court of Justice thinks. It matters what people who are subject matter experts from around the world who are eliminated from bias as much as possible. They get in a room, they look at the evidence, and they say, is this a genocide, yes or no? Now, we're at plausible. The UN has said it's plausible. I think it's going to go all the way. Why do they do that? Because there's a due process. Okay, it takes years. It takes years to identify a genocide. So one day, I think it's going to be officially remembered as a genocide. Now, what do genocide historians say? Historians are saying, yes, this is a genocide. Yes. Now, before October 7th, they didn't use that language. Because a lot of people are going to be like, well, if it's a genocide, how come the Palestinian population has increased? Nobody's saying it was a genocide before October 7th. The genocide is happening now. Before October 7th, most people didn't use the word genocide. Okay, now they did call it a concentration camp. They did call it death camp. But now we're calling it a genocide. A genocide is when you're displacing a people or part of a people, or when you're massacring in part or in whole an entire race. Okay, that's what's happening in Palestine, and that's what historians are saying. Even Jewish historians are coming out and saying, look, this is the classic elements of genocide. So my opinion doesn't matter. You have to look up, what's the International Criminal Court say? What is every single international body is condemning Israel for genocidal activity. Because also genocide, you have to prove intent. That's the difficult part. But you have Netanyahu saying, calling the Palestinians Amalek. You have lots of government bodies, the president of Israel saying, oh, we have to stop this rhetoric of innocent civilians, which is insane. Okay, if you know anything about international law, yes, there are innocent civilians. There's something against collective punishment. You cannot have collective punishment. You can't just say, oh, just because a Palestinian came and attacked me, I can destroy every Palestinian. Like, for instance, Netanyahu the other day, 2 days ago, said about the Lebanese, he said, there's a Hezbollah rocket or missile in every kitchen and in every garage in Lebanon. That's what he said. He literally said that. Like, I had to clean my ears. I'm like, did I just hear this man correctly? He's saying that in every home, in every garage, there's a rocket or a missile, making it a legitimate target. That's insane. That stuff is all going to go back to The Hague. All of it. Like, I find it to be psychotic. Now, the vast majority of the world is telling, in the UN, is telling Israel to stop. It's always the Americans that veto. They veto. Why did they veto? That's a long story. All right, I missed a few super chats. Guys, I always do super chats and non-super chats. Hey, coach, thoughts on Dana White bends over backwards for John Jones? Aspinall could be a generational talent, and Dana saves John, who is just objectively a bad person, known cheat. That's from Liam Barber. Well, I have the same feeling sometimes, you know. I think, why do they always protect John Jones? Why don't you just let Aspinall fight John Jones or Stipe? And do we really need John Jones? Like, does the UFC really need him? Why are they protecting him so much? Why do they keep picking up after him? Why do they keep cleaning up his mess? It's a great question. I mean, he's a great champion. He's won a lot of fights, but for me, the whole drug thing and all that, like, I don't want to rehash it, you know, but he's done some stuff that I find, for me personally, I just can't. He's a great fighter, though. It doesn't change the fact that he's a great fighter. But there's some things a person can do for me that I just don't want anything to do with that person anymore. I don't know why. I don't think he's a big needle mover anymore. I don't think the UFC needs him. I don't know why. Maybe he has a personal relationship with him. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he does move the needle a lot more than I think. Coach, assalam, coach. What's your best against flat earth argument? It's not as easy as it seems, especially with someone who makes the same argument as you did with Rogan and string pulling down. Just funny, X. That's from Anas. Anas, you're asking me what's my best argument against flat earther? Well, I'll tell you, I have a simple one. If you look at the moon from Canada, there's a very distinctive crater. Okay, so if you look through a telescope, you look at the moon, there's a distinctive crater. Now, the crater is on the northern side of the hemisphere of the moon, the northern side. Then you travel to Australia and you look at the moon again, and now the same crater is going to be on the southern side. Why? You're upside down. You're looking at the moon upside down. I think that's a slam dunk argument for why the moon is, why the earth is round. Why the earth is round. And here's the other thing. Here, let me ask you this question, Anas. When we look up at the sky, when we look at Jupiter, when we look at Mars, we see that they're round. Like, if you look at them through a telescope, they're round. Why would every planet be round except ours? That would be like, you'd have to explain that. I mean, that's pretty weird. But I like the crater. There's a very distinctive crater on the moon. Go to Canada, watch the moon. Go to any part of the Earth's northern hemisphere. Then go to the southern hemisphere. And you're going to see the moon now is upside down from your perspective. Guys, I'm always doing super chats and non-super chats. Historian has a vid on Ali Shariati, who influenced the Iranian Revolution. Ali Shariati wrote a book called Religion versus Religion, his Shia perspective. That's interesting. I'll have to look it up. Alia Shiarati. Let me look that up. All right, let me see here. Okay, I'll look this up. This is interesting stuff. I'll put it to my save to watch later, and hopefully I'll get to it. Thank you for that. What do you think of sheikhs who say the Quran is enough to practice Islam and that you need to follow hadiths too? Doesn't the Quran say that it is complete? Do you think Islam is being politicized? That's from Faisal. Well, look, I have a more Quran-centric view, okay, even though I accept hadith, etc., but I accept hadith with a certain... Some people believe that the hadith is over the Quran. It's here to rule over the Quran. Some people believe, no, the Quran is here to overrule over the hadith. Some people have a balanced view. I'm much more centric on the Quran. I study the Quran a lot more than I do the hadiths, even though I do believe that hadiths are super important and we should respect the hadith. However, ultimately, I think the Quran is supposed to be learned from one person to the other, not necessarily you read the Quran on your own. You won't understand it. Okay, so somebody who has mastered the Quran, who's part of the living chain that goes back to the Prophet ﷺ. Part of that school, that living chain, that yes, there's hadith, but there's also one person taught another, and one person taught another, and so on, all the way back to the original source. This is I think, from what I understand, was the ultimate goal. All right, guys. Average Joe Gitero Berembolo. What is your perspective on Greg Sauter's ecological approach to jiu-jitsu training? Basically, constraint-led games without drilling. That's from Average Joe. Well, I've heard about that method. I haven't really... I think it has a place. It does have a place. You could definitely learn that way. I just feel like it can kind of maybe take away from my roles later. Let's say I'm going to be doing these games, like these rule-based games or whatnot, where they'll tell you, okay, guys, you can like pummel your legs like this, but you can't do this. And there's this little game you have to play. It's fun. It's a great way to warm up, and it's a great way to develop skills, sure. But I might also burn that glycogen that I have in me. So then when it's time to roll, I don't have as much energy. I think if you do that in a practice room, you might get like mixed results. Some guys like it, some guys don't. I think it's okay. But what I like to do is I like to drill, then do situation, and then roll live, like just roll regularly. So I'll do situations. We call it situation. Okay, so let's say I start an armbar, or you start on my back, or we'll start turtle or something. We have a goal in mind. So we call it situation. It's very good stuff. So let's say sometimes I'll be, I don't know, I'll do a roll or two, then I'll put somebody in mount, and I'll just try to escape mount over and over again. Like I'll do a particular situation that I want to get good at. So I would say we do that kind of stuff already. We just kind of like do it a slightly different way. Does a set that includes all set includes itself? That's from Little Trailblazer. Little Trailblazer, that's a really good question. Does a set that includes all sets include itself? That's one for the ages. I'm still thinking about that one. What do you think of uniforms in jiu-jitsu? No-gi. Are cool and funky rash guards banned at TriStar? That's from Alpinex. No. You're allowed to wear anything you want. Okay, you can wear anything you want. That's not a problem. But I actually really encourage people to wear rash guards. Like, cover your skin. Like, don't get staph. Don't get ringworm. Like, covering your skin and showering after practice is the ultimate. Showering before practice, coming to practice clean, wearing a full rash guard, rolling, and then showering immediately after will keep the ringworm and staph away. You want to keep your skin, obviously, pristine. Now, the other thing is the gym has to mop the mats before every single practice, before and after. So the mats have to be clean when the athletes come in, and they have to be cleaned afterwards. This is so important. At TriStar, we have 6 mops. So when we're mopping, everybody's mopping at once. I don't have one guy mop because I feel like if a guy has to mop the whole mat, and we have a huge mat surface, he might cut corners. He might just do it real quick because he's rushing. No. The whole team mops. We take turns mopping. Make sure you mop every... I have like areas of... One guy has to mop here. One guy has to mop there. You just mop your area, man. Do it right. It's just going to take you less than a minute. Just mop your area. Somebody else is mopping that section. And we kind of mop together, and it's like a whole team effort. Why? We got to make sure the mats are mopped perfectly. And then I have fans that dry the mat. So I dry the mat. I don't let it wet. I turn on the fans. They dry the mat. Make sure we want the least amount of moisture before we start practicing. Assalamu alaikum, coach. Any advice on ankle pain? After an intense heel hook exchange, I'm able to walk, jump, run as usual. However, standing in a squat, knee over foot causes pain. That's from Emperor. Emperor, check out Strong and Stable Knees, man. You have to check out that program. It's on jujiclub.com. I've grandfathered these type of questions because I get them so often. Check out Strong and Stable Knees. Make sure to use Level Up 50 up off. It's on the bottom of your screen. It's in the description. You get 50% off anything on jujiclub.com. Make sure to check it out. Getting comfortable in striking and doing a little bit of grappling is way more important than doing a lot of grappling and a little bit of striking. That's from Tomcat. Not necessarily. I would say if you're fighting multiple attackers, or you definitely want to know more striking. But if you're fighting one person, sometimes grappling is a very, very good thing to have. More grappling could be better. It's not always that simple and cut and dry. But I will tell you something. Look, do both, man. No, the best thing is to develop a really good boxing routine, kickboxing routine. I have a man's guide to throwing a punch. It teaches you how to warm up, how to drill your boxing skill, and then how to do your conditioning. It's the perfect program for getting in shape. Instead of riding the bike for an hour, instead of running, do jiu-jitsu and do your boxing workout. The best piece of equipment for cardio, fitness, is, in my opinion, the punching bag. You have a good punching bag. You have access to a punching bag. It's not complicated. You can get a freestanding bag, or you can hang up a bag at your garage, your room, your basement, whatever. Having a heavy bag is massive. You learn how to throw a punch because you could do a lot of cardio on a bag. Why do cardio on a bike? Why do cardio in the road work? There's some advantages to that. I won't say no. I definitely think running is good. However, if I had one way to do cardio only, it would definitely be the heavy bag. Why? Imagine you're running every other day for cardio, or maybe you run 3-4 times a week for cardio. And I hit the bag 3-4 times a week for cardio. I'm developing a skill. I'm learning how to punch really hard. I'm developing my cardiovascular system. Not only am I going to have better cardio than you or equal, I'm going to be able to fight. I'm able to punch. I'm able to slip punches. I'm able to hit you to the body. I'm able to slip out of your range when you throw a punch. I'm well trained. All you know how to do is run. So if me and you get into an exchange, your best bet is to run. That's all you can do. You can now outrun me. So in my opinion, doing cardio, of course you don't have endless hours to do cardio. You got to do cardio and develop a skill. You're hitting two birds with one stone. Cardio on the bag is brilliant. Now there's a guy on the internet. He did a really nice video. He was comparing, and he put this contraption on. They kind of it calculates how much you exhale, so it tells you exactly how many calories you burned. Okay, and he ran the test with one of his buddies. He did a whole list of exercises to see what burns the most calories. Number one was sprinting for him, and for his buddy, number one was hitting the bag. And I was 100% certain hitting the bag was going to be in the top 3. 100%, because I've seen this kind of test before. Now he did it on you, and he did it with more sophisticated equipment. But hitting the bag was number one for his buddy, who was in less shape, and number 2 for himself. Hitting the bag, if done correctly, can raise your heart rate, burn fat, build muscle, teach you how to throw a powerful punch. If you hit the bag 3-4 times a week, after 2-3 years, you're going to have a really powerful punch. Like, you can hurt somebody. Like, if you had to defend yourself, you'd be a dangerous man. But why run around on a treadmill for 2 years and then have no skill to show for it? To me, that boggles my mind. Okay, so for me, I do a warm-up, I do a bag workout, and then I do some running, kettlebell, air bike, whatever. That's my conditioning. That's phase 3, because there's 3 phases to a boxing workout. Okay, now, phase 3 is very short. I do a bike workout, very short. I do a body weight workout, very short, 10, 15 minutes, 5 minutes sometimes 30 minutes. That's a long one. I won't go usually 30 minutes. But it has to be short and intense. Now, I'm not going to do push-ups for 45 minutes. No, I hit the bag for 45 minutes. Yeah, that's something. I'm developing a skill. It's obvious that Israel controls the Western world. That's from Port Film. Well, there is a vicious cycle. You have a group called AIPAC. They bribe politicians. But where did they get that money? Well, it's interesting. Israel receives $4 billion a year. I think, is it $14 billion a year? I can't remember. I think it's $4 billion a year. I won't look it up. It's something like that. Okay, it's a lot of money. Then the Israeli government bribes the politicians, the American politicians, with that money. So American politicians are taking taxpayer money, giving it to the AIPAC. AIPAC turns around and gives it right back to the politicians. And it only bribes politicians that are going to serve Israel. So the taxpayer is like at the mercy of this relationship where they get their tax dollars taken from them without any choice. And then the politicians are going to give it to the guys who give it right back to them. So these politicians are getting rich. Now, there's a lot more to it than that. There's a strong evangelical body that wants Israel to exist. Why? Because it goes back to their religious beliefs. They believe that if Jesus is the Messiah, the Jews should be in Israel, because that was one of the objectives of the Messiah. And they believe if that mission's already done, it'll bring back the Messiah sooner. Okay, now that's, a lot of people might find that ridiculous, but there are a lot of evangelicals in the world, in America particularly, who believe this. Now, they're quickly dying out. The new generations coming up, they don't think like this way. They don't. So I think in the very near future, the next 5, maybe 2, maybe 10 years, Israel's going to lose a lot of its support that it gets from America. A lot of it is going to tank. Coach, can you make a video about everything you know about Aristotle, Plato, Socrates? That's from Tanvir. Well, that would be a crazy long video. That would be quite a project. All right, guys, what else we got here? Christian Zionism is modern and funded by Jews. That's from Port Film Co-op. Well, that's a controversial topic. Christian Zionism is like, okay, that just means like the Christian people who want an Israeli state. Now, why do they want an Israeli state? Could be for secular reasons, could be for religious reasons, but mostly originally it was for religious reasons. Hey, Coach, greetings from Australia. Can you break down the different phases of peaking for a fight? 6 or 8 weeks, question mark. What is the best way to schedule a training camp? Many thanks. That's from Buckshot Barber. Well, that's a very complex question, but I will tell you, I wouldn't tell you get ready for a fight in 8 weeks. Okay, I think you should be training all year round. Okay, now I talk about it in Strong and Stable Knees. When I don't have a fight booked, I think you should train 3 weeks very intensely, and then your 4th week should be off. It should be like 50 to 70% of what you would normally do. Okay, so I don't think you should train 4 weeks really, really hard. I think every 4th, you do 3 hard weeks. The 4th week, you should really take it easy. That's when I will do my stability work. That's when I do more my stretching, my mobility work. I do more therapeutic work after practice. Okay, so I'll roll less. Maybe I roll 1 round, take a break. Roll 1 round, take a break. I ease myself into training. I don't just kill my body. Why? Because when you skip on the recovery, when you skip on the lighter weeks, you punish the body. You create injury. Guys, I'm 44 years old. I roll every single day, a lot of times twice a day. I train every single day, and my body's super healthy. I have no joint pain. I have no chronic pain. I have, little things here and there, but I have very, very healthy body for a guy who trains as many hours as I do, and I find it to be very easy to train. I don't feel like I don't drag my feet in practice. For me, it's a very fun and easy thing to do. Why? Because I train in cycles and I train the right amount. I never train 99%. I never put myself 100%. Okay, now that's everyday training. You don't have a fight coming up, because a lot of people make the mistake of saying, oh, I'm going to book a fight and I'm going to get in shape in 8 weeks. That's totally wrong. You have to already be in shape before the fight is signed. Okay, so I'm training. I have no fight. I train 3 hard weeks. I push myself, and then the 4th week I take it easy. Now I'm booking a fight. Okay, my fight is 8 weeks away. Okay, I'm already in shape though. I'm not gonna get in shape in 8 weeks. You should go in training camp already in good shape. Now I want to peak. Okay, 8 weeks is not a long time. Okay, so here's what I would tell you. It's a bit complicated. Before my fight got booked, I should already be doing some heavy lifting. Okay, I should be able, at minimum, I would tell you minimum. This is minimum. I should be able to deadlift or squat 1.2 times my weight. That's the bare minimum. Okay, I talk about it in Strong and Stable Knees. There's a PDF. Because if you're too weak, and I'm telling you guys, 1.2 times your body weight is not a lot. That's the minimum. I would tell you, like, if somebody came into my gym and they couldn't deadlift their body weight, I would tell them, I don't think you should do jiu-jitsu. I don't think you should wrestle. I don't think you should do boxing. I think you should develop your lifts Take the time you need to develop your lifts and then do jiu-jitsu. Why? Because I think you're taking time on before your back hurts, before your neck hurts. You're too weak to lift somebody your size, to move somebody around your size. It's too low of a maximal strength. Now, a lot of you guys are going to be scoffing. Oh, 1.2 times your body weight. That's nothing. Believe me, guys, I've trained thousands of people. There's some people that cannot deadlift their body weight. They can't deadlift their body weight. So would you tell that guy to go do a double leg, get underneath somebody his size and lift him? He can't even lift his own body weight. How's he going to lift this other guy's body weight? He can't even lift. That's too much weight for him. Now, a lot of you guys are going to be like, Coach, it's not a high standard. I totally agree. I'm talking about the base level, the lowest level. Now, you should be able to, a good athlete can deadlift his body weight to 2 times his body weight. Okay, sure. Okay. But that's impressive now. Now you're starting to get something really, really good. You're a very good athlete. I would say 1.3, 1.4, 1.5 is good. Then you want to build endurance. Okay, so before my training camp starts, I better be already deadlifting 1.5 times my body weight. If not, I mean, what am I trying to endure? I want to increase my endurance during training camp. Because me, when I go into training camp, I like to focus more on endurance and plyometrics, low impact plyometrics. I don't like to focus on strength because strength is too draining. Strength is way too draining. Like you can't do strength and then after at night do kickboxing. You're gonna strain your back. You know, if you did deadlifts, your back's gonna be tight at night. 48 hours later, my back's starting to feel better. I can't just do. So I just lost 48 hours of training. Okay, so basically what I'm trying to tell you is that before training camp starts, you better have good lifts. Your lifts should be on par. You better be in good shape. And then when we go into your training camp, I like to focus on skill, of course. The specific strategy for the guy you're fighting. Endurance, lots of endurance. Okay, so lots of running, sled pushing, med ball toss. Low impact plyometrics. Low impact plyometrics. Now's the time to do explosive movements. I also am a big believer in like carries, like kettlebell carries, dumbbell carries, stuff like that. I'm a big believer in that. That maintains your strength, but also gives you that strength endurance. So I focus in training camp. I like to focus more on endurance, but that's something you have to have a good lift. Your lifts have to be right already. You can't go into training camp weak. Oh, I can't deadlift my body weight. Well, how do you want me to make you do endurance? Endurance is going to make you even weaker. Like it's crazy how people think they can get in super shape in 8 weeks. It doesn't take 8 weeks to get in shape. It's like saying, I'm going to get really good at jiu-jitsu in 8 weeks. It's like, yeah, 8 weeks is not a lot in jiu-jitsu. 8 weeks doesn't take you from blue belt to purple belt. I've never seen it. First of all, you're not allowed to go from blue belt to purple belt in 8 weeks. It's impossible. But I've never seen anybody go from white belt to blue belt in 8 weeks. Personally, I've never seen it. It doesn't make any sense. So how are you going to get in good shape in 8 weeks? People have a misconception of what it takes, how much time it takes to get in good shape. It could take years, guys. Like it takes years to build an incredible game. You know, I had one of my members walk up to me. I was doing an air bike workout and he came and he sat next to me on the air bike and he was like, Coach, you know, I've been doing the air bike and I don't feel my cardio is better. I'm like, okay. How long have you been doing the air bike? He's like, oh, I've been doing the air bike for 3 weeks, but my cardio is not better. I'm like, 3 weeks? It's like, imagine I walk up to you and I'm like, hey, I've been doing boxing for 3 weeks and I'm not kicking everybody's ass. What's going on? But it's like, yeah, but boxing takes a lot longer than that to master. It takes a lot more years to reach. You got to pay your dues. You know, the air bike is the same thing. The kettlebell, the deadlift, everything's the same thing. It takes years to build up to elite levels. It takes years. So I was like, yeah, I told him, give it 3 years. How about talk to me again in 3 years? Stay on that air bike. Keep doing your workouts for 3 years. And then tell me, oh, of course my cardio is 10 times better than what it used to be back then. You know, you got to be more patient. Christian Zionism comes from modern fake Bible translations. That's from Port Film Co-op. I think it's a very, very controversial subject. I'm not an expert in that, so I wouldn't know. However, I think it would come down to somebody's interpretation. Somebody's interpreting something, you know, because there's a lot of support for Zionism. Should I get a Finex 8? I don't know what a Finex 8 is. Hold on, let me look that up. What's a Finex 8? Oh, that's a watch. See, I know nothing about watches. Sorry, but I wish I could help you, but I don't know anything about watches. The most honorable fighters believe in God. That's some poor film. Well, for some reason my screen is freezing. Bizarre. It's lagging. And it's resetting on me. All right, here the screen is back. Okay, here we go. Coach, what is your advice on having length difference in legs of 1.6 centimeters? I'm 190 centimeters, and that causes me balance and knee issues when I did Taekwondo. That's from Ahmed. That's interesting. I'm not familiar with how to deal with that, but I'm sure it's probably an issue with your hips probably. I mean, can you go see a physio? I would go see a physio. Or is it really one of your legs is longer? That's actually quite interesting. I'm not sure actually how to deal with that. I've never come across that problem, but I would definitely consult with the doctor and physio. Definitely. Because if your one leg is longer and you do the same repetitive exercises all the time, you're for sure going to have an issue. Over time, you're going to wear out one of your hips more than the other. Does Berkeley's philosophy have Islamic ideas? That's from Qasim. Yes, absolutely. For those who don't know, Berkeley, he really championed idealism. Okay, he didn't discover idealism. He didn't found idealism. But the early Muslims, well, not the early Muslims, but a lot of Muslims were famous for a view called, how can I forget this? This is crazy. Give me a second, it's going to come to me. Occasionalism. Okay, so occasionalism is, excuse me guys, I'm just having one of those nights. Occasionalism is the view very similar to Berkeley. Okay, it's very famous in Muslim philosophy, very famous. 99% of Muslims don't know this, okay, but the Asharites believed in occasionalism. Okay, what's occasionalism? Well, occasionalism is basically saying that God is constantly creating existence as we know it. Okay, so for instance, think about when you're sleeping and you're in a dream, okay, and you're jogging in the dream. Okay, you run 100 meters in the dream. You're running 100 meters in the dream, but you're not really crossing any distance because it's all in your head, right? It's just images. So for instance, imagine I gave you a cartoon. Okay, you ever see the cartoons how they draw an image on one page, then they flip the page, they draw another image, then they flip the page, they draw another image, and then they flip the pages really fast, and you can see a running cartoon. Well, Ashari was saying, look, that's how existence is. You're just seeing one image after another, and you think that there's movement, time, and space, but there's really no movement, time, and space. That makes no logical sense. So for instance, if I'm in a dream and I run 100 meters in my dream, I didn't cover any distance. I never moved from one place to another. It's just one image after another. And then the mind presupposes, or I would say it's emergence. Okay, the mind projects movement. The mind projects time and space. Okay, so I subscribe to this. I think it makes total logical sense. Why? Well, Zeno had a paradox. The Greeks had a paradox. They're like, look, movement is impossible. Movement is impossible. How do you know movement's impossible? Well, look, if I want to go from my home to the gym, my home is point A and the gym is point B. But for me to go to the gym, I have to cross point C. Point C is the halfway mark. So for me to go from point A, my home, to the gym, I have to cross halfway. Now, between point A and point C, there's another halfway mark. Let's call that point D. But between point A and point D, there's another halfway mark. Let's call that point E. Okay? So you have A, B, C, D. You have an infinite amount of halves. Okay, so if I want to go from here to the gym, I have to get halfway. But before I get to halfway, I have to get halfway of halfway, and then half and a half, and half of a half. So you have an infinite amount of halves. So Zeno was like, look, motion's impossible. Now Zeno could see a bird fly through the sky. He could see kids running around. He wasn't crazy. He was just saying, look, logic is telling me that my eyes are lying, that my experiences are untrue. Now, rationalists, we really love logic, and we trust logic more than our eyes. What do you trust more, your eyes or your logic? Me personally, my logic. But it doesn't mean I don't doubt my logic too. Okay, I doubt my logic and my eyes. I do. You know, a good philosopher will doubt both. However, logic has proved our eyes. Logic has proved our eyes wrong many times over. So the Asherites, they believed in occasionalism. Why? For many other reasons, but everything made sense. Now, you know, you have Einstein's relativity, theory of relativity. Time and space are relative. Well, it's not idealism, it's not occasionalism, definitely not, but it's way closer than what Isaac Newton gave us. Isaac Newton, guys, said time is a constant. Time never changes. Doesn't change for nobody. Einstein debunked Isaac Newton. Isaac Newton said, look, time is our constant. That's the one thing that flows at a rate and that never changes. That flows at a certain rate and that never changes. We can always, because, you know, let's say I were to ask you, where's Earth? You're gonna be like, well, Earth is in the Milky Way. I'm gonna tell you, where's the Milky Way? You're gonna say, well, the Milky Way is in this region of the galaxy. Where's this region of the galaxy? Where's in this region of the space? Where's this region of space you're talking about? Oh, well, it's in the universe. Where's this universe? Oh, it's in this multiverse. Where's this multiverse? At one point, you have no reference point. Okay, so you don't have something to measure by. You don't have something that's a constant. Location is not a constant. It's always relative to something else. What's something that we have that's not relative to something else? It's objective. It never changes. It's a constant. Isaac Newton, one of the smartest human beings ever, he said, look, time. Fast forward a few hundred years later, boom, that's destroyed. Einstein pulls the rug out from underneath us. The smartest guy told us this is a constant. It will never change, guys. Set your life to this. He was wrong. He got the rug pulled out from underneath him. Now we know time is relative. No physicist in the world today will tell you time is a constant. Nobody. Now everybody accepts that time is relative. That's why science goes through revolutions. Now, science is becoming more malleable, it seems. And I think over time, they're going to realize that idealism is highly convincing. Idealism, occasionalism, both very related. Are you talking straight deadlift or trap bar? That's from Logan. I would say straight deadlift, but I like the trap bar. Coach, please explain how we go from an abstract philosophical idea of a necessary being to a personal, merciful God who prescribes us a religion. That's from Angel. Well, Angel, that's a quite complicated question, okay? But for certain, we have a necessary being. And we have a necessary being because you can't have the start of the universe cannot be contingent. It can't be. Okay, so you understand that. You understand we have a necessary being. And then you have to understand determinism. You have to understand determinism. Determinism is something else that we observe in the world. We see that the world is highly, highly deterministic. And then we notice something else. We notice that we are determined. We're noticing that the world is determined. One thing collides into another. One thing pushes another. And then we realize, hey, we're also determined. And Leibniz said it really well. You know, Leibniz said he saw one billiard ball hitting another. And he called it the living force. Now, think about this name that Leibniz gave. He said it's the living force. Why did he call it the living force? The billiard ball is not living. It hit one other ball and the other ball kept rolling, and it's like, it's not living. Those things are not sentient. They're not living. They're not alive. But Leibniz was basically telling you, look, what that force that went from one ball to the other. It seems to have transferred from one ball to the other. He's saying that's the same force that moves me and you, because the chemistry and physics that's happening in our bodies, that's all one billiard ball hitting another, so to speak. It's all cause and effect. And this causal chain can be traced back to some original cause. Okay, so now you have determinism. And I tell you guys, determinism is very, very highly compelling and convincing. It's a very difficult thing to argue against. Now, I also believe we have free will, but I'm a hard determinist. Now, people who believe in free will and determinism, it's called compatibilism. Okay, so you believe that they can be compatible. However, we're just going to talk about determinism for now, because you're asking me, how do I get to a God? Okay, we have this necessary being. Okay, we're born with the idea of the divine. So we know a God exists. Now, how do we get to this personal God? Well, determinism makes us wonder. Every word we say, because here's the thing. If there wasn't a God, and there were just blind forces, you'd have blind forces, and then intelligent design would be an emergence. So for instance, let's say I walk into my, no, I have to give you a good example. Let's take evolution, for instance, okay? Evolution. They say, okay, bears were brown, and one of them had a mutation in his genetics, and then his fur was white. But because this white bear now was hunting in the snow, in a snowy area, he had an advantage. He had a hunting advantage because he was camouflaged. So he caught more fish, he caught more seal, he caught more prey. Because he caught more prey, he had more resources, he could have more children. His children carried his new genetic mutation, and now you have the polar bear. So the polar bear must have come from the brown bear, they say. Okay, this is not my example. This is Neil deGrasse Tyson's example. I always use his example so people don't say, hey, that's not exactly correct. No. It's exactly how he put it. Okay, it's exactly how he put it. Neil deGrasse Tyson says, once upon a time, there was a brown bear who had a mutation, who gave his offspring, he had white bears. The white bears had an advantage in hunting. Makes total sense. Okay, he had hunting in a snowy area. They continue to thrive and pass on their genetics in a snowy area. Okay, I'm in agreement with that. I don't have a problem with this at all. However, I won't say his mutation was by chance. His mutation was determined. We're of the opposite view. We say, look, there's a God, and then randomness is emergence. Okay, so we say all of the world makes sense. Now, there are many arguments we could talk about, like fine-tuning, etc., where I'll tell you something. Let me tell you something. The world is so fine-tuned. It's mind-boggling when they explain the numbers. It's really, really mind-boggling. But I'm going to leave that aside for now. Remember what Leibniz said. He said, look, there's a living force. One billiard ball hits another. That living force is moving my entire body as well. Okay, so we can't get away from that. We cannot. It is very difficult. And people are going to start talking about quantum physics. Believe me, even the quantum world, I'm not going to get into this now, but even the quantum world, the Copenhagen interpretation is just an interpretation. They never observe superposition, where things happen contradictory or randomly. Randomness is never observed. Randomness is always emergence. It's always emergence. It's always our imagination. It's always projection of the mind. It's never observed. Randomness has never been observed, ever. It's emergence. It's a projection of the mind, as Immanuel Kant would put it. So back to what Leibniz was saying. Look, the same force that moves one billiard ball to hit another and moves that billiard ball, it's the same forces that are moving the ideas in your head. But in the ideas of my head, I'm speaking to you logically. Like right now, I'm having a conversation with you. Like these are not just noises I'm making into this mic. Well, if blind forces are behind me and they're pushing me to make these noises in the mic, how can you account for reason? Now, this is a very subtle point. A lot of people who don't get this, it's very difficult to wrap your mind around this. You have to think about it. If we are a byproduct of random forces, all the noises I'm making right now are a byproduct of those random voices. They should just be random noises, but they're not random noises. They're logical sentences put into a particular sequence. They're not a fluke. But if we do the math, if we're good physicists, if we accept what Pierre-Simon Laplace, the French Newton, says, that the determinism is inescapable, how do we account for reason? How do we account for the fact that we have logic? How could blind forces create material agents that use logic? That worldview doesn't make any sense. Think about it. You have blind forces, you have materials, you have atoms. Let's just call it atoms for now, particular elementary particles. Okay, the Greeks would have liked to use the word atoms, but in our modern day, we're going to say elementary particles. They're floating around chaotically. There's no rhyme or reason. Things are moving randomly. How on earth do you get a lump of matter, a human being, making sounds that are in a particular sequence and making arguments? How do you get intelligence? How do you get agency? The atheist materialist worldview cannot account for agency. So when philosophers, we sit in the room, we start talking about, hey, this is what they think it is. And we look and we're like, wait a second, that worldview doesn't account for many things. And one of those things is agency. Agency means like, I'm free to think and come up with an idea and give you an argument. I have agency to make an argument. Like I could be right or I could be wrong. I have to think about it. There's something going around in my head. Now there's more problems. That their worldview doesn't work for so many reasons. And another major problem, another massive problem that they have is the problem of intentionality. So if my brain is matter, okay, so my cell phone is matter, okay, this rock over here is matter. Imagine I had a rock. That building over there, it's matter. My brain is matter. And we ask scientists, is there a special type of matter? They're like, no, it's all carbon. And here's the table of elements. That's all it is. It's nothing else. There's no special matter. Okay, so there's no special matter. There's no woo. There's no funky stuff, magic stuff. No, there's none of that. Okay. So how could matter, my brain, be thinking of other matter? So for instance, I'm thinking about, I'm thinking about the gym. I'm thinking about the TriStar gym. How could matter, my brain, chemistry and physics, be thinking about other matter? How's that possible? I'm having intentions about another clump of matter. If I'm just a clump of matter, I'm thinking about another clump of matter. You know what they say? I'm not joking. They say, oh, that's just an illusion. It's impossible that you're thinking about, it's impossible that matter is thinking about other matter. I'm not joking. They try to tell you that's an illusion. Then philosophers will say, okay, but who's having the illusion? If it's an illusion, who's having the illusion? Like, that's how far they go. That's how far they go. They're like, then they melt down. And at that point, they don't have an answer. Just like, they start twitching and like, this guy's crazy. I don't want to talk to him anymore. They just destroy the conversation. They just end the conversation. They have no answer for that. If I'm under an illusion, who's having the illusion? Oh, that's just a more illusion. Well, for me to have an illusion, I'd have to exist, I'd have to have a mind for you to, do rocks have illusions? Does dead matter have illusions? It's insane how far they'll go to deny their own inner experience. Because here's the thing, you have matter in chemistry, and then we have something called metaphysics, and they always dismiss metaphysics. Metaphysics means what's beyond the physical. Anything beyond the physical, they dismiss it. But the mind is non-metaphysical. Your mind is metaphysical. The fact that you think and ponder and have logical thoughts, that's all metaphysical. I cannot put that in the test tube. That's beyond physics and chemistry. But they hate that that's true. It's crazy because they use their mind to understand physics, but they make physics supreme. And then they use physics to try to deny their mind. It's just an insane loop. It's an insane massive contradiction in their worldview. It's a massively problematic contradiction in their worldview. Now, your question was, how do we get to a personal God? We know that divinity exists because we can't talk about anything that doesn't exist. I've done this many times before, so I'm going to keep it really short. It's impossible to talk about something that doesn't exist. Okay, when we put all this together, you're going to understand. Okay, I know I'm talking about layers here. We talk about necessity. There's necessary beings. There's determinism. So there's logic and reason. Okay, so this being had to be logical and reasonable. He made me think like this. He has to have reason. He has to be a rational, necessary being. But he's also divine. How could he be divine? Well, We can't think of anything that doesn't exist. It's impossible. It's impossible. Now, you're going to tell me, what about Santa Claus? Santa Claus doesn't exist. It's always the example I give. Yes, you're right. But the components that make up Santa Claus do exist. Santa Claus is a fat man who rides a sled with a reindeer and he flies, right? Well, guess what? You've seen fat man. You could see a fat man in the world. You've seen reindeer. You've seen the color red. You've seen a sled. And you've seen a bird fly. Now, in your imagination, you can mix all those ideas up. Okay, so let's say, David Hume said, have you ever seen a golden mountain? No. But you've seen gold and you've seen a mountain. And then in your imagination, you can mix the two together and make a golden mountain. Okay, so that's why we say there's one God. Don't say the God of war, the God of love, the God of crocodile, the crocodile God. That's pagan gods. Those pagan gods, you took your idea of God, you took your idea of, love, and then you made the God of love. So that's why we say, look, if you have the idea of divinity, the divine in your mind, you had to have experienced the divine. Now, it's not only the Arab Muslims that said this. The Greeks also agreed with this. Socrates, read the book of Phaedo. He says, look, I have an innate belief in the divine. How could I have known what's divine? Descartes also, the Europeans also came to this conclusion in the Enlightenment era. René Descartes, in one of his books, The Meditation on First Philosophy, he talks about this exact argument I'm giving you. It's like, you cannot, look, if you never saw the color red, if you lived on a planet that didn't have any color, the whole planet was black and white, the whole universe was black and white, you would know nothing about color. You wouldn't be able to imagine red. You wouldn't be like, hey, you know what, I'm having this idea of the color red. Impossible. Okay? If the whole world, your whole world was black and white, you would know nothing about the color red. Until you experience red, you can never know it. Okay, so we start putting all these elements together. We realize that we trace our reason behind, and we start realizing that, hey, there's a divine, logical, rational, purposeful deity behind us. Now, that's the hard way to get to God. Okay, there's another way to get to God. This is what the Sufis will tell you. There's two paths. There's splitting hairs, getting thinking really deeply about things. Yes, and then there's the easiest way. Okay, the easiest way is you have an innate sense of God. Okay, so I grew up, I heard about God, I know what you're talking about. So for instance, if you were a blind man and I talked to you about the color red, you'd be like, what are you talking about? I don't know what red is. But when I talk to you about God, you understand what I'm talking to you about. You already know. You already know. So that's why Islam is a revealed religion, but also a natural religion. That's why we say the first man was Muslim. That's why when people don't understand, they think, oh, you think the first man, he knew Muhammad alayhi salam? No, we're not saying that. We're talking about go back to your innate religion. The innate religion within you. That's the whole message of Islam. You go back to the innate religion. Every human being was born in this innate religion. Okay. All right, here. Did I miss some super chats? Oh boy. Salam coach. Just had a heart attack at the age of 37. I read Dr. Joel Fuhrman's book, The End of Heart Disease, and changed my diet to 90% plant-based. What is your thoughts on that? That's from The Truth. The Truth, 37 years old, heart attack, that's very, very young. I really hope that you're making a strong recovery, inshallah. I'm really hoping that you take your diet super seriously. Make sure to go see every expert you can. That's 37. It's got to be, wow, that's very scary. It should be. I'm assuming you have heart disease in your family. I would definitely go see every expert. Obviously I can't help you. I'm not an expert in this field. But I would definitely read up on Dr. Joel Fuhrman. He's a doctor, a nutritionist. I highly recommend his material. But, do your research on how you can have a heart attack at such a young age. That's a very scary thing. I really wish you a quick and speedy recovery. Working on progressing my V up with ankle weights. That's from Hassan. That's a good way to go about it. War Strike podcast on Room Ball, good for Mid-East news. War Strike podcast on Rumble. Okay, War Strike. Check it out, guys. Our boy Port Film Co-op recommends War Strike podcast on Rumble. Good for Middle East news. Talal asks, thoughts on Ibn Arabi's Wahdat al-Wujud? Thanks, coach. Look, Ibn Arabi is a very strange character. He says a lot of things that make him sound, I don't want to say anything disrespectful, okay? Make him sound like he's kind of lost control of himself. However, there are things that were brilliant, what he said. There are things that are like, very... And Wahdat al-Wujud, I'll tell you, I don't think he ever said it, personally. I don't think he ever said it. I mean, that's what William Shatiq, a scholar, says. But then you read his materials and like he's kind of alluding to it, but he never coined that phrase. That's kind of his predecessors that did that later on. I will tell you, be very careful. On Chris Williamson's podcast, Richard Dawkins is asked about the hard problem of consciousness 45 minutes into the vid. They ask, why have the philosophers taken over? What was his response for Richard Dawkins? Richard Dawkins, I'll tell you something, he knows nothing about the hard problem of consciousness. He knows very little. I would be shocked if he even understands the hard problem of consciousness. I think he will understand it at a very superficial level. But listen, I've heard Richard Dawkins talk several times now, and I can tell you he has very, very little philosophical training. He's a biologist, okay? So when we attribute Dawkins to philosophy or his philosophical thinking, we're making a false attribution, okay? You might as well ask your doctor about taking care of your car. Hey, what do you think about the mechanics of my car? Well, he's a doctor. He takes care of people. He doesn't take care of vehicles. Vehicles is a whole different species. Same with Dawkins. Dawkins is a biologist. When he talks about philosophy, he's really a beginner. Okay, he's really a beginner. Coach, they see a particle in two different places at the same time. That's from Rainbow. No, they don't. They say you have to think about it as being in two different places. You have to think about it as spinning clockwise and counterclockwise. It's never observed. Spinning clockwise and counterclockwise. They call it the wave function. That's why it's referred to as the Copenhagen interpretation. Trust me, there's a lot of history to this. I highly recommend Sean Carroll's Something Deeply Hidden. He has a Google Talk. He has a book called Something Deeply Hidden. He has a really good Google Talk where he sums it up. It's a fantastic lecture and it's a fantastic book. I highly recommend you get into it. He dispels the myth, okay? He really tells you, look, the Copenhagen interpretation is just one way to think about it. They're not trying to tell you that they've observed something spinning clockwise and counterclockwise simultaneously. That would violate the law of non-contradiction. So it's not ever observed. It's theorized. It's thought about in that sense. Coach, after a man's guide to throwing a punch, choosing strength or conditioning exercises is a huge task. Help, please. That's from Tanvir. Tanvir, make it simple. Use a kettlebell. The kettlebell and a pull-up bar. You can get in incredible shape. Kettlebell, pull-up bar. If you have the budget, get an air bike. If not, hit the road work once in a while. Do sprints. But just basic swings, press. Eventually get 2 kettlebells. Like, you could really spice it up for very cheap, and it's a crazy good workout. Very inexpensive. I'm a big believer in heavy bag and kettlebell. You can get in world-class shape. There are other equipments that are good, but they're more expensive. Rowing is good. Air bike is good. Deadlift is good. Bench is all good. But however, if I had to choose one tool, I might choose the kettlebell. That'll be up there. It'll be a very, very trustworthy tool. Reason is our attempt to make sense of what? Reason is our attempt to make sense, not a cosmic force. That's from Warren Kenner. Warren Kenner, what you said right there is a non sequitur. This makes no sense. Okay, listen to what you just said. I'm going to repeat it back to you. Reason is our attempt to make sense, not a cosmic force. Where did reason come from? So imagine, Mr. Warren, I gave you a massive bags of stick and stones. Okay, like I threw a whole bunch of materials in there, and ask you to shake it for a gazillion years. Okay, it's matter and the void. Okay, matter and the void. And I shook this bag for a gazillion years. I just kept shaking it, kept shaking. Is it ever gonna come together? Are those sticks and stones and all the elementary particles, are they gonna come together and start thinking? That's what I'm asking you. Where did thinking come from? You're presupposing thinking. You're saying reason is our attempt. Who is attempting? How did reason come about? That's what I'm talking about. I'm not saying why do we reason? No. I'm saying how did we come to reason? So you have matter, and then at one point matter starts to move itself. That's what I'm asking you. So you took this bag, you have this giant bag, okay? And inside that bag you have dust. You have all sorts of particles, you have all sorts of crazy stuff in there. And you're shaking it, right? It's matter in the void. There's chaos. The shaking it represents chaos. Now, this bag is bigger than the universe. It's bigger than the multiverse. Make it as big as you want. You keep shaking it. Now, then you stop shaking it. You're not shaking it as much. At one point, when does the matter start moving itself, talking to itself, start reasoning? That's the question. You missed the entire question, Warren. You're at the back of the class. I want you to come sit up next to teacher so you can pay attention. You're presupposing reason. You're presupposing reason. You're saying reason is our attempt. What you're giving me is a narrative. You're not giving me a description. You're saying, look, once upon a time, people started reasoning about their existence. I'm not asking you about that. I'm not asking you for a bedtime, Warren. I'm not asking you for a bedtime. I need you to wake up. I need you to wake up a second. I'm asking you a very profound question here. I'm telling you, how did matter go from being moved by the 3 laws of motion to moving itself? Now it moves itself. Now it reasons. How the hell did that happen? In the materialistic worldview, it doesn't. There's no explanation. It doesn't have explanatory scope. It cannot explain it. Okay? So you have to deal with that now. You have to say, look, how did dead matter start moving itself? That's the question you got to tackle now. Okay? I'm waiting for you in the chat room. Hey, coach, after Islam versus Armin, realistically, what is the next challenge? He has beat everyone, definitely, and he won't fight Bilal. That's from Damien. There's always a new up-and-comer. There's always, people tell me that all the time. Oh, after this fight, he's going to wipe out everybody. Don't worry about it. There's always a new guy with a big win streak, a super colossal finish or KO or something, and everybody's like, hey, maybe this guy can do it. Everybody said the same thing about GSP, same thing about Adesanya, same thing about Anderson Silva. Look, there's always a new contender, guys. You just got to be a little bit patient. And 6 months from now, there's going to be somebody who like has 2 KOs in a row. And we're going to be like, hey, maybe this guy can do it. Like, trust me, it's not that far off. And plus, he hasn't had the fight with Armin yet. So imagine when they have the rematch, that's going to be a colossal fight. That might happen, let's say, a year from now. Who knows? And who knows when they finally get together and sign it and make the deal. I mean, is that that's not booked, right? I would have heard about it. But hold on, let me just look real quick. Just to double check. Because if that fight got booked, I'm sure I would have heard about it. No, nothing booked. But that's got to be the next one. I hope it's the next one. Dawkins was pretty humble about it in the vid. That's from Hassan. Well, I would love to see it, but I'd love to hear him take a crack at the bat because that's a very deep topic. We talk about it all the time in philosophy. Hey, coach, any advice for people with sinus and breathing problems doing MMA? That's from George. Look, when you're training, guys, I'll tell you, this is a tip for everybody. okay? Regardless if you have sinus issues, but when you're training, try to focus on your breath. Like, try to breathe, try to control your breath. I would tell you, give you like 10% more cardio. If you just control your breath, because I'll tell you, a lot of you guys, and me included, when you roll and you don't think about your breath, or you spar or whatever, you hold your breath. You don't realize it, but you're holding your breath a lot more. Because, you know, when we apply pressure, we want to hold our breath because it makes our abs tight. And that transfers more power, okay? But you can also keep your abs tight and breathe. Because flexing your abs doesn't mean you have to stop breathing. I can flex my abs and still breathe in and out to a certain extent. Okay, not as much, but I need to keep that breath going in and out. So I think there's a little skill there that a lot of people overlook. So next time you're rolling or hitting the bag or working out, sparring, try to remember, when you're applying force, you don't have to hold your breath. You can still breathe in and out to a certain degree while tightening up your core. Because you guys are going to notice that whenever you do an arm bar, whenever you do a guard pass, whenever you shoot a double leg, whenever you have an underhook, people flex their abs. They have to keep your spine organized and your back. Because imagine you had a marshmallow for a core, okay? Your core was marshmallow, and you threw a punch. What would happen? Your body would bend in half and fall. You'd fall over, right? Now imagine your core was granite, it's hard as a stone. Now when you push off the ground with your legs to throw a punch, that granite is going to transfer the power fully into your punch. Okay, that's why the abs are so important. You have to tighten up your abs. Whenever you do something to apply strength, you tighten up your abs. Okay, so when you tighten up your abs, you actually shorten your breath. You can get a lot more cardio in if you learn how to breathe while tightening up your abs. Next one is from Buckshot Barber. Buckshot Barber says, "Hey coach, I've heard a boxer claim that welterweight is the best weight for a street fight because they are quick but still have enough power to deal with a bigger man. Thoughts? Question mark. Do you think this philosophy applies to BJJ?" That's from Buckshot. Well, if I had to be any weight and I was going to a street fight, I'd probably want light heavyweight or heavyweight. I'd probably go with heavyweight. No, size and strength makes a difference. I think the last guy I'd want to get into a street fight with is probably Ngannou. Okay, so that's the last guy. If you told me, hey, fight a welterweight or Ngannou, I'll take the welterweight. So this guy's completely wrong. I don't agree with him whatsoever. There's weight classes for a reason, okay? And believe me, a lighter weight can't beat a bigger weight. Yes, it can happen, absolutely. We see it all the time. Bigger guys come in the gym, they get subbed and they get hurt. Not hurt, but they get put it on because there's a skill differential, okay? But as that skill differential minimizes, weight becomes more and more of an issue. Okay, now if you have a blue belt versus a black belt, the black belt's going to win. However, as that blue belt climbs the ranks, that black belt ain't going to sub him nor. If there's a 50-pound, 60-pound difference, 100-pound difference, it makes a massive difference. It's very, very dangerous. Hey, Coach, what are your thoughts on Thomas Hobbes' Leviathan? Oh, my God, I haven't read that in so many years. You make me want to go back and review it. But Thomas Hobbes was a very interesting philosopher, definitely. But I never went too far past, his basic ideas. I never did a really deep dive in Hobbes. Namaste, Coach. What do you think about frontal stomach kick in MMA? It was effective in fight between Superleg versus Takuru Marab versus Sean O'Malley. That's from the man from Nepal, my boy, the man from Nepal, who's literally from Nepal. We have somebody from Nepal in the chat room. I think it's great. The front kick to the stomach's really, really powerful. It's a very powerful move. However, when you throw a teep to the body, we call it a teep, it can get caught, it can get parried, and you can get countered. I like it when I'm much taller than the guy I'm fighting and the guy's very heavy on punching. Like the guy really wants to punch me. Then I like to teep when they punch. But I have two criteria. One, I have to be longer and taller. And two, I want him to be punching when I teep him. Why? Generally, I like to teep when they punch because I feel they can't grab my leg. Now, some guys are really quick with the teep. They can get it in and out. They kind of poke in and out. They set it up in and out with different methods, and they're really quick with it. Me, I'm like medium. I'm like a good speed, but I'm not like the fastest kicker, okay? So me, I do it when the guy's about to come forward on me and he's shorter. I like to teep them hard to the body, make them feel the pain. Now, it's not always the case. Sometimes a shorter guy can teep a taller guy. A very good example of this is Sean Strickland versus Adesanya. He used the front kick, or the teep in Thai, we call it the teep. He used it beautifully several times over, and he was the shorter man. So it can be used as a shorter man. Some guys are very quick with it. Salam, coach. I'm starting to learn philosophy. Where would you recommend me starting? Fallacies, logic, epistemology, all memory tricks, mnemonics. Kings, I would tell you, look, I would find a good list of logical fallacies. I would study that. And I would study the works of Plato. I think those are great. And from Plato, I'd move to Aristotle. From Aristotle, then I would move to, I mean, this is how I did it. I would move to Muslim thinkers. And then from Muslim thinkers, I would go to the Enlightenment period. I feel like that's the journey I did. And I feel like it was fantastic because that's how it happened historically. Okay, so I feel like you really get the whole experience. Islam Makhachev will fight on January 25. Really? I don't see him scheduled here, so I could be wrong, but I'm looking at topology. But he's not booked with anybody per se, which I would love it for it to be Armin. Warren Kenner says biogenesis is pretty much the only piece left for science, maybe before the Big Bang, in as much as the phrase makes sense. Biogenesis cannot be before the Big Bang. It's impossible. Biogenesis means the beginning of biology. So life. So life started about 5 billion years ago. The Big Bang was about 14 billion years ago. So you have a huge gap between the two. Okay, so you have like 10 billion years between the two. So let me read your question. Maybe I misread it here. Biogenesis is pretty much the only piece left for science. Maybe before the Big Bang, in as much as the phrase makes sense. Oh, okay, this is Warren again. I think you're saying two different topics. No, there's many more mysteries for science. Are you kidding me? You think science only has biogenesis to go over? First of all, just what we talked about earlier, the hard problem of consciousness. The hard problem. What about the hard problem? What about the problem of intentionality? Secular, materialistic philosophy doesn't make sense. It has multiple layers of contradiction and no explanatory scope. Warren, I think you've been off more than you can chew, man. Honestly, like, this is really like an absurd statement you're making. Biogenesis is pretty much the only piece left for science. That's an insane comment. That's an insane, and I hate to say it, foolish. Okay, so we know everything about quantum physics. So even quantum physics, string theory, that's all solved. That's all resolved. That's an insanity. Now here's the whole thing. Before the Big Bang, what happened before the Big Bang? That's a question for philosophers. That's a question for philosophers who studied science. Philosophers of science, not scientists. Philosophers of science. That's why I respect Sean Carroll, because he's also a philosopher and he's a scientist. He has a PhD in both, so I respect his ability to think. It's not a question for scientists. It's not a question for philosophers. It's a question for philosophers of science, and I would say philosophers as well, and philosophers. There's a lot to unpack there. I really don't want to get into it, but just because time may have started doesn't mean it wasn't caused. Okay, so imagine for this. I'll give you an analogy, okay? Imagine I give you a CD with a movie on it, okay? Like, I know you guys don't watch CDs anymore, but imagine I give you a DVD with a movie on it. And you play the movie, and the time of the movie starts at a certain, like, it starts at 0, then 01, then 02, then 03. And you're like, look, when I rewind the movie, there's nothing before. That movie starts at 01. I will tell you, yeah, look, there's nothing before the movie, but there's still something that caused the movie. You understand? It's still contingent. The movie itself is still contingent. So how could something cause it if there's no time before? Well, I'll tell you, look, in this closed system, the time started here, but it's still within another system. This is a closed system. The movie will be a closed system. Our universe is expanding. So that's why you know why they say there's no beginning, right? Because our universe is expanding, right? So they extrapolate. If you reverse the expansion, what would happen? It would crunch, it would crunch down to a single cosmic egg. That's what they call it in the scientific world. They call it the cosmic egg. They say the cosmic egg, everything in existence was compressed. All the stars, all the planets, everything you ever saw. Look outside your window. All that stuff was compressed, so small. They say smaller than the head of a needle. Okay, so if you take a needle, a pin, the universe was compressed to a degree so tiny, even smaller than the head of a needle. Do you guys understand what I just said there? Look at all the cars in all the world that ever been, all the rocks, all the mountains, all the stars, all the planetary bodies, the whole thing, every meteorite was so compressed. It was so deeply compressed that it was smaller than the head of a pin. They call that the cosmic egg. Look it up, okay? I'm not making this up. If that's the start of the movie, it doesn't mean that the movie itself didn't have a cause. Okay, so enough with this jargon about, oh, there's nothing before, time started before. Look, philosophers, we talk about time. It's not that simple, and it's complicated, yes, but it's a lot more than what you think. Okay, so something can start in time, but also because it's a closed system. We don't know what's outside of our system. Just because we had a big bang doesn't mean it's the entire system of all of existence. That's a presupposition. I wasn't saying biogenesis came before the Big Bang. Okay, I know, I understand you weren't. I had to reread you. I think you were talking about two different subjects. I tried to correct myself. I hope you got that. I'm an atheist. I want to practice for raising a family, but will do major sins privately. Wow. This is from Lumonak. Guys, if you can... I hope you're not doxing yourself somehow. I'm an atheist. I want to practice raising a family, but will do major sins privately. Is it better for the Ummah be a hypocrite, hide my sins, and not discuss my apostasy, or stay out of the Ummah and not corrupt it? That's from Luminac. I would tell you it's better to keep it private. I would tell you it's better to keep it private. You have a lot more success, and inshallah, down the line, you'll revert to your ways. You know, you'll revert from these ways, inshallah. But I would tell you, I would do it privately. I think that'll give you more time to reflect and think, because your mind can change over time. Believe me. Guys, I'm telling you, I've known very hardcore atheists have a slight brush with death and change their entire outlook on life. A slight brush with death. Or have a crippling disease and change their entire outlook. And like hardcore atheists. Like I've known them personally. And I'm sure a lot of you have as well. And sometimes it's the other way around. Some guy was really religious, and all of a sudden he flips and he's completely atheist. People can change their minds. So I would tell you, especially if you have a family, keep it like, you know. The truth says, thanks, by the way, my first time watching you live from Austria. I trained 6 times a week, BJJ and Muay Thai. Still had a heart attack at 37. It's genetic. That's from the truth. I really wish you a safe recovery, man. I hope that you live a long life, because 37 is very, very young. And that's great that you're from Austria, man. That's really, really cool. Keep up the training and listen to your doctors, man, and do a deep dive. Figure out for your health. Nobody cares about your health more than you. So make sure you get into a deep, deep dive and figure out what's ailing you. Okay, guys, it is time to wrap it up. We're at 2-hour mark. Let's finish it with something fun and light. Do you think the European K1 style is better for MMA than Muay Thai? Superior footwork, movement, and punching. Love from Greece. I wish I could read your Greek name, my brother, but thank you for that. Look, if I had to choose, I would take the European style more. But I really think it's my ultimate formula. Even is better than that, I would say. No offense, but it's Muay Thai mixed with boxing. Okay, so like Western boxing with Muay Thai, because I like the knees and the elbows. The Thais emphasize the knees, the elbows a lot more than the European style, which I think is great. But European style, it's more kicking and boxing, which I think we should go kicking, boxing, elbows and knees. They don't knee and elbow as much. So I love both styles, guys. I'm a big fan of both styles. But if you told me, hey, pick two styles to mix, I would mix Muay Thai and boxing. I think that's the ultimate style. All right, guys, let's end it up on a fun one. Coach, did you see the female fighter twerk in her opponent's face after tapping her out? That's from Dowd. No, I haven't. Dowder, I haven't seen that. I have not seen that. That was in MMA, I imagine. Brandon SGD, the chat is not working for some reason. Oh, here it is. Okay. Hey, Coach, I came for the MMA tips, but got interested, influenced by your Islamic beliefs. Can be Muslim without quitting pork or circumcision? That's from Brandon. Brandon, you don't have to get circumcised, and you don't like, it's haram to eat pork. Of course, it's forbidden. However, it wouldn't make you a non-Muslim. Okay, so only sin, from what I know, will make you a non-Muslim is if you associate anything with God. Okay, if you say God is mixed with something, like God has a partner, or somebody else is a deity. There's two gods, or someone's like is partly deity. He's partly divine. Anything like that, then you're a kafir. Okay, you're not Muslim no more. But in terms of, like, let's say if a Muslim drink alcohol, he's still Muslim. If a Muslim ate pork, he's still Muslim. Okay, so it's not the sin that's going to take you out of Islam. I should say not the minor sin. I think there are major sins also. I don't know if it actually takes you out of the fold of Islam. You'd have to ask an expert. Okay, but I know definitely associating anybody with God, that will take you out of the fold of Islam for sure. Hey, Coach, you missed my super chat. That's from Aiden Hassan Haytham. Did you? Okay, hold on a second. Aiden, hey, let's find Aiden's super chat here. Where is Aiden's super chat? Sorry, Aiden, I believe it expired. My apologies, Aiden. Did you listen to Michael Parenti vid? Which one's Michael Parenti? Hold on a second. Michael Parenti. Which one was that again? Michael Parenti. The Dark Myth of Empire, Heart of Darkness. No, I have not listened. Is Bush a failure? Michael Parenti. Speech on Empire and Neo-Imperialism. The Culture Struggle by Michael Parenti. Super Patriotism versus Real Patriotism. The Myth of Capitalism by Michael Parenti. Okay, so which one would you want me to listen to? I'm not sure which one you're referring to. Did you listen to the Michael Parenti vid? I don't remember having listened to it. Bible tells us pain is an opportunity to grow in faith. That's from Port Film. There's a lot of truth to that, for sure. Believe me, I've had sometimes in my life a lot of pain, and that made me grow. Believe me, pain can make a man grow. That's a very true thing. Coach, thoughts on polygamy for men? That's from Misha. I think it's necessary sometimes. Sometimes in times of war, men go to war. Okay, they kill each other, and you go back to your camp. You go back to your country. Half the women, like, look, for instance, look at Ukraine. For instance, in Ukraine, before the war, they had more women than men. Did you know that? The ratio of men to women was lopsided. There were more women than men. Now with the war, and it's not the bloodiest war. You know, we've seen bloodier wars. But imagine the war ends tomorrow. Hopefully, that'll be a beautiful thing. And all the Ukrainian women come back. All the families come back. There's going to be even less men for the women. So what do you do? What do you do? Well, now it might be better for society to marry more than one wife. It could make sense. Why? Because you could repopulate faster. You can get ready for the next possible invasion. And now we're ready, right? We don't want to be weakened. We don't want to be low in number, right? Because our competing civilizations will take advantage of us. There is a time where it makes sense. There is a time. Now, when does it not make sense? Well, there's an equal amount of men and women, and now you're being greedy. You're marrying 4 or 5 women. You're using your wealth to marry all these women, and there's no women for the other guys. Okay, so there's a time and place where it makes sense. There's a time and place where it makes sense. Now, here's the other thing. Look at Vietnam, for instance. America goes in, kills a bunch of human beings, kills a bunch of men. What happens to their women? Well, the sad truth is a lot of them got later into prostitution, a very common thing. Not exclusive to Vietnamese women, of course not. Vietnamese women at that time especially were conservative, by and large, okay? Why are they turning to prostitution? While their men are dead, they have no means of living, and they're going to do the one thing they can do to feed their family. So the one daughter that they have, she's pretty, they'll offer her because they need money. They're going to starve to death. Instead of women doing that, why doesn't she marry one of the men who has money to take care of the family, right? The men who are alive. Because, I mean, if all the men are dead, you're finished. I mean, your civilization is done. What I'm trying to tell you is there's a time and place where it makes sense. It's very needed. You know what's funny in this country? You're allowed to have a wife and a mistress. That's no problem. That's not a problem. So if I said publicly right now, I have one wife and I have 7 girlfriends. Well, imagine I had that, and I showed you their profiles, and I showed you my interactions with them. I interviewed them, and I'm like, yeah, this one's my wife. I married her legally. The other ones I can't marry, but I have children with them. I have a house with them. They're just my girls. Everybody like, oh, that's perfectly legal, but you cannot marry them. No. If you marry them, that would be illegal. That would be crazy. That would be insane. Oh, wife. I mean, there's no law of you having children with her. There's no law on you buying her house. There's no law on you paying her bills. There's no law on you visiting her on a regular basis. There's no law against that. No, that's perfectly fine. Hell, you know what? You could even just have casual relations with her if that's what you want. The neighbor down the street, that's your business. Do what you want. But if you marry her, you commit to her, that would be strictly illegal. Like you're just a bad person. It's funny how society like sometimes has these taboos. I don't know what's going on with this chat thing today. I posted it again. Okay. I'm 4-0 in boxing. Had my first kickboxing fight. Could you watch the last round? Real world veins versus what? Okay, let me look it up, okay? Oh my god, this is crazy. Guys, please no more super chats. No more super chats, please. I'm going to end this very shortly. Am I able to find your versus Jin? I'm going to try to button push my way to another video here. This is crazy. Hold on a second. Oh my god, this is nuts. Is this you? Mr. Veins versus Jin, Real World Dynasty. Is this what I'm looking at? Is this it? You crazy guy. My for some reason my internet's lagging today. It's crazy. Nothing's working. Oh my god. Okay, I'm gonna try to play this. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can get it to work. Oh yeah, here it is. Okay, I'm about to play this. Give me 1 second, boys. We're gonna have ourselves a battle, a little fight here. Which one are you guys? I want to know which one of these dudes you are. Hold on a second. How do I get this on screen again? Hold on a second. All right. I'm getting it on screen, guys. Well, how does it work again? Ah, here it is. Here it is, friends. Okay, friends. Oh, look at this button pushing extraordinaire. Guys, I'm going to get real arrogant on you all right now. I'm a button pushing extraordinaire. Look at this. Button pushing wizardry. I'm going to come out with a new course about button pushing. I could button push with the best of them. If there's a button out there to push, call me, guys. Uh-oh, I screwed it up. All right. Oh, man. Damn it. Okay, I screwed it up. I got to do it again. All right. This looks like a funny fight. Oh, yes. Button pushing 101, my friends. Okay. Which one are you in this video? I'm about to play it. I'm going to push it through in a sec. Please let me know. Which one of these two guys are you? Ah, you're Jin? Okay, let's see. Which one is Jin here? All right, here's our boy. Coming out to the Rocky. All right, this is This is the enemy, Mr. Veins. I don't know. I don't know why I find amateur fights kind of hilarious. Here's our boy. 3-0. I'm impressed. Why do you guys have your shirts on? Okay, well, are you guys seeing this? Give me a thumbs up if you can see the fight. Because I'm having a technical issue here. What country is this? What country are we in? Okay, you guys can see. Great. What country is this, Aiden? Pakistan? MMA in Pakistan. Crazy. I really want to visit Pakistan. Okay, guys, I'm not doing any more questions. Please, guys, no more super chats. Please. This fight's about to go down, my friends. Pakistan MMA, friends. Last minute rules. How could you cheer for Jin? Our boy is Veins. Mr. Veins, guys. All right, here we go. Oh, head kick attempt. Ooh. All right, all right. We're throwing down here. I'm not playing games here. Oh, nice footwork here, but you got to keep your chin down, man. Your stance is way too high. You got to keep that chin down. Ooh, you're quick, man. Oh. Wait, why did they stop it? Why did they stop it? No, no, this is full punching. This is not slap kick punching. This is full punching. Why did they stop it? Stand and bang rules. Oh, this is no MMA? You guys are in an MMA cage. Pakistanis don't like all that grappling stuff. They like to see man to man. Our boy's in the yellow, guys. Body shot. Okay, I assume no elbows are allowed because this is amateur. Nice elbow. Nice shoulder butt. Look at that. A Conor McGregor signature here. Shoulder butt. Ugh. Oh, you're allowed to grab the shirt? Or you're a little cheating? You bending the rules? Oh, wait a second. Our boy is Jin or Veins? No, our boy is Jin, right? Yeah, the other guy's Veins. My bad, guys. Our boy is Jin. Our boy's in the yellow. Yeah, our boy's in the yellow. Ooh, big left hook. I'll give it to you, Jin. You have good eyes, man. You have good reflexes. It's just your shoulders are not shrugged enough. You got to shrug your shoulders a bit. You got to lower your stance. You got to tilt your head down a little bit. Your nose got to point a little more towards the ground. Because if you get hit, one day you fight a good guy. Oh, cartwheel kick. Come on, give me a break. That's like lack of fundamentals. You're doing cartwheel kicks, but you lack the fundamentals. Shoulder butt. I think Jin is ready for Paulo Costa, coach. What do you think? That's from Rainbow. Maybe another couple of fights. No, look, I got to give it to Jin. He's got good eyes. He's got good reflexes. Now, okay, these guys are still amateur. Uh-oh. Spin into a low kick. This guy got... Veins has got creativity, but no basic. That was dangerous. Fixing your shin pad like that, he could have kicked you in the face. You got to wait for the ref. Oh, jabbed you. That's round one, boys. That's round one. Pakistani MMA, no ground. Is that what I'm getting here? It's MMA gloves. It's a cage, but there's no groundwork, from what I understand. Oh, shoulder butt again. Jin, you're savage, man. Oh, high kick, missed. Guys, Jin, our boy in the yellow, he's got good eyes. You guys got to give it to him. Low kick. You dropped your hand there a little bit. You got to be careful with that. Oh, you see he's fixing his shin. If you got kicked in the face there, that'll be on him. Here we go. Here we go. Body shots. Nice work. He went for a spin. He went for a spin and he got smothered. Nice head movement. Jin, you got good eyes, man. I got to give it to you. Oh, kick to the groin. I'm going to fast forward this. I like how the cornerman's standing up right by you. Okay, wrestle. You can't wrestle, right? You can't wrestle. There's no wrestling allowed. This is just the Pakistanis. They love to bang. They just love to just the striking part. They like the MMA gloves. This is basically caged Muay Thai. Oh, hit behind the head. Uppercut. Okay, guys, I'm gonna fast forward a bit. This is a good fight, man. This is a good fight. You're doing great. Oh wait, here. What's going on here? Uppercut. Uppercut. I think this goes decision, right? Cross block. Good job. Oh, body shot. Floored him. That's it. Good body shots. You did good body shots earlier now. No, this one's floored him. He's not coming up, man. Impossible. Oh. He's going to get finished right now. Did he wave it off? Oh, boy. Restarted. He's finished, man. He's finished. Knockout. That's it. Nice work, Jin. Guys, moral of the story. Do not mess with Jin. Do not mess with Jin. Okay, how do I take this off? Guys, that was a pretty cool fight, man. I don't understand why they don't let you guys grapple. Why is it just all stand-up? Why is it so strict? It would have been cool to see you guys grapple a little bit. Jin, you're a beast, man. You're doing a good job. I would just tell you, you got to, adjust your mechanics. And I would just say really, really, even more important than that, you got to lower your base. In the Man's Guide to Throwing a Punch, I teach combat jumping jacks. Like how to lower your base, how to get low, how to create rhythm in your upper body, how to create rhythm in your lower body. Super important stuff. You have very good eyes, good athleticism, good power. You just need to fix your mechanics and your positioning. What made Prime Connor so good, coach? That's from Sir. A lot of good things. He was phenomenal. He had a phenomenal reach, phenomenal reflexes. His eyes were incredible. Clean counter punching. I mean, there was so much to his game. Of course, he had a crazy, deadly left hand. He could always rely on that left hand. He could floor anybody at 145. He had a reach. He had a distance control. He had a powerful left hand. He had fantastic mechanics. He was very well trained, but he also had incredible eyes, incredible reflex. All right, let's move Jin to fight Pereira next. What do you think about the UFC Paris and PDS defeat? That's from Hatem. Guys, I really thought it was crazy that they let him get out of round one. After round one, his eye was closed. Moicano had tuned him up. Like, it was just so dangerous to go out there blind like that. And what was amazing is round two, he kind of did well. Like, he kind of like survived an onslaught. But it was just sooner or later, Moicano was going to crush him. Like, could have seriously hurt him. I'm glad the fight didn't continue because Moicano really, I think that was a 10-7 round. Like, that was so dangerous. I can't believe they let him off the stool. Like, that's such a dangerous thing. Okay, guys, I'm gonna wind things down right now. I know I said that like 23 minutes ago. 23 minutes ago, but I want to end it on something fun. Coach, I'm a purple belt trying to be a good coach one day. What do you think I should do to achieve that? That's from The Truth. I'll tell you, first you got to get to black belt, and don't start coaching too late. Like, start working, help out the blue belts, what's really makes a good instructor? He knows how to explain something in the simplest way. So help out the blue belts, roll with them, help them out, try to explain to them how to do armbar, how to do pass, how to knee slide. Get good at breaking things down. It could be very, very helpful for your teaching career, because really, honestly, I've seen some very good athletes, but they're poor teachers. And I've seen some guys who were good athletes, not the best. They were good performers, but they're really great teachers. And their students are better. Why? They know how to articulate. They know how to think. They know how to resolve problems that the student is having. So it can be very different. Sometimes the best fighters don't make good coaches, and sometimes they do. Okay, so it's not a given is what I'm trying to say. Coach, do you consider coaching and teaching an art? That's from Vaymast. Yeah, there's definitely an art to it. It's not an exact science. There's definitely an art to it. Coach, as a beginner, do you think it's better to train with a partner based on the advanced basics / speed drills, Juji Club videos that you provide, or to train with the rest of the class? That's from Jad T. I would tell you the basics and speed videos. Like, I would do the speed videos first, then I will go through the basic sequences. That'll, I think, beat like 99% of curriculums out there. I would swear by it. I do swear by it. Like, speed drills is a shortcut to getting from white belt to blue belt. It's a shortcut. There's 2 speed videos you need. One is the bottom game, one is the top game. After you do those speed drill videos, then breaking down the moves, getting into more details makes sense. But if you're a total beginner, you should only do speed drills, because it's basically the bare bones of the move. You're developing muscle memory and coordination. At TriStar, we have 6 days a week basics class. So new guy comes in 6 days a week. We teach them only speed drills. On Wednesdays, they learn wrestling techniques. Every other day, they learn speed drill. Once they can do speed drill, they go on another mat. They've graduated. 3 weeks ago, my guys went to Toronto. They got 7 gold medals. Like they do really, really well. They got two silver, 1 bronze or something like that. But like 7 gold medals. Wow. They did really well. They killed it. But we train them speed drill, speed drill, speed drill, speed drill, speed drill. And then you can go to another mat. But if you're learning all these details, but you don't have the muscle memory, you don't know how to move your body, you don't know how to go from side to side, you don't know how to transition quickly, you don't have that speed, that coordination. All those details are useless. Okay, guys, with that said, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I had fun as always. Please make sure to use Level Up 50 off, the promo code on the bottom of your screen. Go to jujiclub.com, get 50% off absolutely anything. Check out the description. It's all in there. The promo code is always there. Thank you all for tuning in, and I'll see you all in the next episode.